Okay, so if you've been rocking with me for a while, you already know how I feel about Kojima's games. I've covered most of his titles on the channel, and many of them hold a special meaning for me. Back in the 80s, Kojima was just getting his feet wet with game development, approaching it more like a film director, experimenting with a new medium. When he finally got the chance to create his first truly cinematic game, Policenauts, we saw how he could seamlessly blend story and gameplay to create something magical. Fast forward to the late 90s and early 2000s, and Kojima's unique approach to game design had become pronounced. With the first Metal Gear Solid, he gave us a story centered on genes, posing the idea that it's not our genes that define who we are, it's our choices that show us our true selves. Then came its sequel, Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty, which tackled themes of information control in a way that feels eerily prophetic today. Shockingly, this game came out in 2001, yet its portrayal of the manipulation of information feels ripped straight from our modern reality. It was as if Kojima games were less entertainment and more of a series of warnings to us, the players. While Sons of Liberty leaned heavily into the meta, his next game would be his true opus, a title that's still adored even 20 years later. Released in 2004, this game represented the culmination of all his experiences, blending cinematic storytelling with gameplay in a way that redefined what video games could be. It's no surprise that, as I'm recording this, the game is being remade, a testament to its timelessness. This game will go down as Kojima's magnum opus. Welcome back to the Retro Phantoms Retrospective. Today we're hopping into the jungle this time, exploring Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater. As this is my last video of the year, I want to take a moment and say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. If you've been rocking with me since I restarted my channel, I'm especially grateful for your continued support. You've kept me in check when I've gotten a fact wrong or mispronounced the name, and I truly appreciate all the feedback. I'm always open to constructive criticism because it helps me bring you better content. With that said, since this is the final video of the year, I've got a few quick updates before we dive into the MGS3 retrospective. First, next year marks the start of my Rockstar takeover, with GTA 6 teetering on the edge of will they won't they release territory. I'll be covering Rockstar's catalog, from Midnight Club to GTA 3 and even LA Noire. Also, the new Mortal Kombat 2 movies on the horizon. We're kicking off the Mortal Kombat takeover. This will dive into the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s eras of the franchise. Yes, that includes Mythology, Sub-Zero, and Special Forces, sadly. So, if you're a fan of this content or the content I've got lined up, make sure to sneak your way to that subscribe button and swipe the notification bell so you don't miss out on what's to come. Let's dive into this. Okay, so if you haven't already, definitely check out my Hideo Kojima Chronicles playlist if you want the complete story behind this legendary director. If you're just here for the Metal Gear content, feel free to check out my Metal Gear playlist, where I've covered all the entries in the series. Well, except Snake's Revenge. If you know, you know. Anyway, let's jump in. Let's start with a little background. Kojima originally had him planned to make Metal Gear Solid 3 for the PlayStation 2. Instead, he intended it to be for the PlayStation 3. However, with Metal Gear Solid 2 releasing in 2001 and its expansions following in 2002, there was still a significant 2-year gap before any work could realistically begin for the next-gen consoles. For my younger viewers, there was a time when game sequels often dropped within a year of the original. Rather than wait for the PS3 rollout, Kojima decided to push forward with the next entry on the current hardware. During his post-release cooldown period after MGS2, Kojima began brainstorming ideas for the next game. He settled on the concept of survival as a core theme and worked on it while his team was on holiday. By the time they had returned, Kojima had a clear plan. According to Eurogamer, Kojima stated, "I decided that MGS3 should be about survival, and I started thinking about how survival would work in the game. The game takes place in the 60s, and if the game was going to be about survival, I decided it had better take place in the jungle." With this foundation set, Kojima's team began tackling the challenge of developing gameplay mechanics that fit a jungle environment. Military advisor Motosada Mori, who previously assisted on MGS2, was brought back to teach the team survival skills, close quarters combat techniques, and stalking strategies. Meanwhile, Kojima focused on crafting the plot and characters to align with the new setting. On the music front, Harry Gregson Williams composed a score aiming to capture the essence of a jungle adventure. If you're like me and love the music, it's thanks to this man right here. His soundtrack resonated so well with the game's tone and atmosphere. In 2003, the team showed their progress at E3 with the first trailer for Metal Gear Solid 3. I'm only going to be showing a portion of this trailer due to copyright.
何様のつもりだ。また車泥棒か？違う！潜入任務だ。ここは都会じゃねえんだからよ。ここはジャングルだ。蛇でも食らいな。
The trailer was met with widespread praise. Fans were hyped by the sight of Snake dangling from tree branches while shooting, holding soldiers at knife point, and engaging in intense hand-to-hand combat. A standout moment showed Snake engulfed in flames, fueling speculation about how these sequences will play out in the final game. While the details remain unclear, the trailer set imaginations ablaze, building excitement for the jungle survival experience. To bring authenticity to these action sequences, the Kojima team used motion capture extensively, even enlisting a stuntman for dual revolver tricks. Development progressed rapidly, and by E3 2004, another trailer and a hands-on demo were ready to showcase the game's new mechanics.
失敗すれば再び世界大戦が始まります。
俺たちは伝えなければならない。俺たちの愚かで切ない歴史を。それらを伝えるためにデジタルという魔法がある。未来を作ることと過去を語り伝えることは同じなんだ。こちらスネーク。待たせたな。
今回のミッションはスニーキングミッションだ。それが隠密部隊コップスの特殊任務。ホワイトハウスにある人物から連絡が入った。フルシチョフからジョンソン大統領へのホットライン。 スネーク、どうやらそこはキューバよりもホットらしいな。これが記録に残る世界初のヘイロー効果になる。鳥になってくれ。ソ連のある科学者が西側への亡命を申し出た。
なぜ亡命を？
自分が設計開発したものが恐ろしくなったらしい。
で、その兵器とは？
特殊な核兵器の一種らしい。君の任務はソ連国内の山地チェルノヤルスクに単独潜入、ソコロフの安全を確保、西側へ奪還することだ。いいかスネーク、君が失敗すればそれは全面核戦争の始まりを意味する。
分かった。それではスネークイーター作戦を開始する。
動くな。貴様、スペツナズの山猫部隊。ソコロフは渡さん。さっさと立ち去れ。
山猫は獲物を逃さない。
なんだと。
グルーのためとはいえ、同志を撃つのは気持ちがいいものではないな。死んでも
隊長、
構わん。撃て。
見ろ。
単独作戦行動が可能な核搭載戦車。
あれが完成し大佐の手に入ればこの冷戦は終わる。そして始まるだろう、本当の恐怖の時代が。
世界大戦か。
画期的な移動核ミサイルシステム。この技術は歩兵と兵器をつなぐ歯車になる。まさに金属の歯車。
メタルギア。
どんな命令にも従う。それが軍人よ。
正直疲れた。科学者はいつも利用される。
やっと会えましたね、伝説のボス。
これは戦争だ。冷戦という名の諜報合戦なのだ。
私は任務のためなら人を好きになれる。あなたのこと、
何を見た？何を知れば亡命を考える？
宇宙を見た。
アメリカで生まれ育ったんだ。
一
人も国も環境で変わる。時代で変わる。
どうして亡命を？
私は亡命を考えたことなど一度もない。この国が好きだ。この土地を愛しておる。
ようこそ我が国我が部隊。
専門家によると、世界最古のスパイは聖書に出てきたヘビらしいわ。
いい？兵士はいつも同じ側とは限らない。戦闘相手は政治によって決まる。軍人は政治の道具に過ぎない。
俺は成果を上げるために持てる力を使う。政治的なものは意識しない。
東洋では忠を尽くすという言葉がある。
主君への愛国心、
国への献身。
俺も大統領や軍のトップに従う。そのために死ねる覚悟だ。
任務は人が下しているものじゃない。
では誰が？
時代よ。時の流れは人の価値観を変える。国の指導者も変わる。だから絶対的なんてものはない。私たちは時代の中で絶えず変化する相対的と戦っている。昨日の正義は今日の悪かもしれない。忠を尽くしている限り、私たちに信じていいものはない。たとえそれが愛した相手でも。ただ一つ絶対に信じられるのは任務だけよ。
こっちに来て分かったことがある。今まで伝えられてきたことの半分は根も葉もない嘘で、残りの半分は利用するために作られた嘘。
そもそもお前はオートマティックに向いていない。リコイルの衝撃を肘を曲げて吸収する癖がある。どちらかというとリボルバー向きだ。
くそ、アメリカ人め！
だが早打ちは見事だった。いいセンスだ。
センス。クワバラクワバラクワバラクワバラ。
利用できそうだ。
Fans at E3 2004 got their first real taste of Snake Eater's gameplay. The introduction of the camouflage system and survival mechanics stood out as game-changing features. The camo system added a strategic layer to sneaking, while the hunting aspect added realism. Reactions to the hunting mechanics were mixed, but overall, fans appreciated the added depth. Of course, in classic Metal Gear fashion, playtime was heavily punctuated by cutscenes and codec conversations. While some hoped for more hands-on gameplay, the demo left most people confident that Snake Eater was shaping up to be a stellar addition to the series. With E3 wrapping up in May 2004, fans didn't have to wait long. The hard work learning about the jungle environment, incorporating Moore's expertise, and refining motion capture paid off, delivering one of the most iconic entries in the Metal Gear series. Just 6 months later, on November 17, 2004, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was released.
In the gaming world, if anyone mentions the name Hideo Kojima, Metal Gear Solid is bound to come up in the conversation. Currently, the latest installment of Metal Gear Solid, Snake Eater, is in the works. It will extend the legacy of the game's designer, developer, and producer. Born in Tokyo and raised near Kobe, Mr. Kojima is an interesting blend of Renaissance man and high-tech guru. The PlayStation Underground traveled to Tokyo to get a more detailed portrait of the man who would be Solid Snake.
I never thought of working in the video game industry. Actually, as a child, I wanted to become an astronaut, or I wanted to become a naturalist, and I always enjoyed watching film. But the Japanese film industry is very closed, it's feudalistic. Right around then, I ran into the home computer, and I started playing video games, and that's when I started thinking about working in the video game industry.
Kojima-san landed a job at Konami Entertainment, working in the home computer department. There he created the first Metal Gear in 1987. Snatcher and Policenauts followed a few years later. With the release of Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation in 1998, the gaming world could not help but notice the birth of a star.
And back before Metal Gear Solid, my games were for the Japanese market only, so I never thought about the rest of the world. But once Metal Gear Solid came out, I had to start thinking about fans all over the world, so that's a big change.
Part of that change is raising the bar of expectations and imagination when creating a great game.
I have to make sure that the people out there enjoy what I create. There are all kinds of people all over the world that will be playing my game. Figuring out what people would possibly enjoy is what's very challenging, but at the same time very fun about creating video games. Making people feel that something is beautiful or something is very scary, that's the easy part. What's difficult is making people feel that what they're playing is fun. Video games are probably the only medium that allows people to do that. During the planning stage, since everything is in your head, you can really do anything. And it's all up to me, up to my imagination. So I can come up with anything, and it's so fun. When I give all my ideas to my people and they start putting things together, when I actually see the game coming together, it really is a gratifying moment.
This innovator has a consistent style that holds to form. His technique has been influenced by film directors like Akira Kurosawa and especially Alfred Hitchcock switching between first-person POV and objective bird's-eye view to create tension and suspense. Hideo Kojima has become known for blending the cinematic technique with the latest gaming technology to create new levels of shared personal gaming experiences.
Back when I started in the industry, people said games and film were like water and oil, that they'd never mix. But that's changed. We now have a common language. Video games, film, music, everything has become so digital. And I think there will be a lot of blending going on. You'll see totally new discoveries sprouting out from the fusion of these things. Eventually, maybe even the word game might be gone. I don't think video games have reached that status yet. Film, movies, and novels, the good ones, in addition to entertaining people, they have positive effects. And I don't think video games have that effect yet. So hopefully, in the future, there will be video games out there that have this positive effect on people's lives, just like movies and novels.
You can be sure when that happens, Hideo Kojima will be at the front of the line having a positive effect on people. He shares his secret for worldwide success.
Video games are things that people play with, people use. So what I'd recommend is first you interact with different people out there. And then you should read a lot of novels, see a lot of movies. And try to establish as many virtual personalities within you as possible. Try to be these other people out there. So my piece of advice is to know people.
If you want to know more about the upcoming release of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, check back here inside the game. And don't forget to check out the latest Metal Gear Solid 3 trailer included in this issue. Back when the Metal Gear Solid 2 trailer was shown at E3 in 2000, there was a standing ovation. Now it's time for the next generation, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Just playing the game for the first 5 minutes, you'll notice that Metal Gear Solid 3 is totally different from the previous ones. First of all, the setting will be the jungle. It'll be caves, it'll be the mountains, different settings. And the time setting will be the 1960s, when espionage was the big thing, when spies were spies. And doing all this spying in the jungle, I guess what you'll see the most is trying to hide yourself from the enemy, and the enemy trying to find you. This element of espionage will be so much stronger than any previous Metal Gear Solid. In the previous Metal Gear Solid games, the only enemies were human. But as Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 3, you actually have to survive in this natural environment first, before you get to the human enemies. For example, if you're in the mountains when you're climbing up a slope, your stamina is going to be affected. You're going to be tired more easily. And you'll also be affected by the weather and temperature. Like if it's cold, you might start losing your energy.
To power back up, you'll need to go hunting. Lunch might be an alligator or a frog, and of course the title-making snake. But as usual, there's a signature Kojima twist.
You're in the jungle and you'll see animals around. You can actually hunt these animals and eat them for food. But not only can you capture animals to eat, you can also capture them and use them as weapons. For example, you could grab a snake and maybe throw it at an enemy.
So it's snake eating and snake throwing combined to help battle the environment and the enemy. But you better not forget to be stealthy.
If you just stop, look around, hear something from the side, look in that direction, you'll see something. It might be an enemy, and if the enemy sees you, he's going to attack you.
And that's something to be avoided. Fortunately, the MGS crew has you covered in at least 5 different ways. And you get to paint your face.
A really big theme in Metal Gear Solid 3 is camouflage. Depending on where you are, depending on what kind of vegetation there is around you, you'll be changing your gear so that the enemies won't be spotting you as easily. If you don't change your gear, depending on where you are, they're going to find you.
And where they find you will be more natural and realistic than ever before. The environment gives a whole new meaning to Welcome to the Jungle.
Even with the drawing power of PlayStation 2, it was really hard to come up with an entire jungle with a natural environment, something that most video games have avoided. To create such a detailed natural environment, we ended up renewing the graphics engine and the gameplay engine as well. When you actually step into the jungle and when you're standing there, that sense of presence, you really feel like you're in a jungle.
You'll also feel like you're really in the 60s. It's not an Orwellian time machine thing, but you'll be back in the 60s anyway, man.
I was born in the 60s, so it really wasn't that distant of a past for me. But many of the guys on my team are young. They were born in the 70s. And for them, it was really hard for them to sort of get a grasp of what the 60s were like. We've read a lot of books and seen all the films from the 60s, and listened to the music, and even studied the fashion of the 60s.
It's the age-old thrill of the chase that makes Snake Eater one of the truly great games of all time.
I probably shouldn't be saying this because it's my own, but the gameplay I think is going to be awesome, especially with the element of trying to be hidden from the enemy and the enemy trying to find you. That element is just going to stand out so strongly and vividly in this game. The level of tension in this game is something you've never experienced before. I'm like, can I really release this game with all this tension? You know, it's going to be so exciting and scary in that sense. Maximum level of tension. I really think people should look forward to that.
Here's a quick spoiler alert, as I'm about to tell the complete story of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. There will also be light spoilers for Metal Gear Solid as well as Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. Now, if you're not a fan of spoilers, please advance this video to the gameplay overview section as seen on the timeline below. Let's dive into this. Unlike other Metal Gear Solid games referencing fixed points in time, such as the Hiroshima bombing in the first game, or Y2K in the second, this entry serves as a fixed point in time. It's a prequel to the entire series and grounds itself in the Cold War era. The story begins in 1962 with Soviet scientist Nikolai Stepanovich Sokolov seeking to defect to the United States the CIA, under the leadership of Major Zero, who we'll dive into later, successfully smuggled Sokolov and his family across the Berlin Wall. From there, the narrative connects to one of the most intense moments of the 20th century, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Let's quickly set the stage for this historical event. On October 16, 1962, President John F. Kennedy had been informed that the Soviet Union was placing intermediate-range ballistic missiles in Cuba. In immediate response, Kennedy called for the immediate dismantling and withdrawal of the missiles and announced a naval blockade to prevent further shipments. Things became tenser as the Soviets did not back down, but instead placed their armed forces on full alert, continuing shipments. Both countries prepared for a full-scale nuclear war. After several frantic negotiations through the UN Emergency Security Council and other official channels, the crisis was resolved on October 28 when the Soviet Union agreed to withdraw its missiles from Cuba, narrowly averting global catastrophe. Back to the story. In an attempt to avoid nuclear war over the course of the crisis, the US made a backroom deal with the Soviets. The Soviets insisted on one condition for peace: the return of Sokolov. The US obliged and returned Sokolov to the Soviets, who immediately put him to work at his design bureau to finish off a new top-secret weapon. However, a mole within the Soviet Union leaked crucial details about the weapon, alerting the CIA to its potential to disrupt the global balance of power. Determined to neutralize the threat, the CIA assigned Naked Snake, an operative of the newly formed Fox unit, to infiltrate Soviet territory and extract Sokolov. In 1964, Snake was selected for the mission. He was parachuted into Selenorsk, Russia, where he only had 3 to 4 hours to accomplish the task. He accomplished the world's first halo jump from a Special Ops MC-130E combat Talon aircraft to reach the location.
Sunrise.
External temperature minus 46 degrees Celsius. 2 minutes to drop off. Stand up.
You'll be falling at 130 miles per hour. Try not to get frostbite from the wind chill.
1 minute to drop off. Move to the rear.
Activate BLR model.
This is one for the history books. The world's first halo jump.
10 seconds to drop off. Stand by. Status okay, all green.
Prepare for drop-off. Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Spread your wings
and fly. God be with you.
After making the halo jump, Snake touched down safely and was able to get in contact with the Major. The Major gave Jack his code name of Naked Snake during this exchange and adopted the alias Major Tom for himself. After retrieving his backpack, which had separated from him during the jump, Snake was introduced to the rest of the Fox unit supporting team. First, he met Paramedic, a skilled doctor who provided advice on treating injuries and staying healthy on the battlefield. The last key figure in the mission was the Boss. The Boss was Snake's old mentor, whom he hadn't seen in 5 years since he disappeared without explanation. The few words they exchanged spoke volumes of a complex, almost mother-son relationship, marked by her wisdom and his sense of betrayal. Here, the Boss shared with Snake the most important thing that will help him survive the battlefield: to separate his emotions from the mission. It was a warning, and it set the tone for what was to come.
Just because soldiers are on the same side right now doesn't mean they always will be. Having personal feelings about your comrades is one of the worst sins you can commit. Politics determine who you face on the battlefield. And politics are a living thing. They change along with the times. Yesterday's good might be tomorrow's evil.
Is that why you abandoned me?
No, it had nothing to do with you. I already told you, Jack. I was on a top-secret mission. A soldier has to follow whatever orders he's given. It's not his place to question why. But you're looking for a reason to fight. You're a natural-born fighter, but you're not quite a soldier. A soldier is a political tool, nothing more. That's doubly true if he's a career soldier. Right and wrong have no place in his mission. He has no enemies and no friends. Only the mission. You follow the orders you're given. That's what being a soldier is.
I do whatever I have to get the job done. I don't think about politics.
That's not the same thing. Sooner or later, your conscience is going to bother you. In the end, you have to choose whether you're going to live as a soldier or just another man with a gun. There's a saying in the Orient, loyalty to the end. Do you know what it means?
Being patriotic.
It means devoting yourself to your country.
I follow the president and the top brass. I'm ready to die for them if necessary.
The president and the top brass won't be there forever. Once their terms are up, others will take their place.
I follow the will of the leader, no matter who's in charge.
People aren't the ones who dictate the missions.
Then who does?
The times. People's values change over time, and so do the leaders of a country. So there's no such thing as an enemy in absolute terms. The enemies we fight are only enemies in relative terms, constantly changing with the times. As long as we have loyalty to the end, there's no point in believing in anything, even in those we love.
And that's the way a soldier's supposed to think?
The only thing we can believe in with absolute certainty is the mission, Jack.
All right, but do me a favor.
What is it?
Call me Snake.
Snake? Oh, right. Your codename is Snake. It suits you well.
Snake engaged KGB troops guarding Sokolov as the virtuous mission was underway. Snake continued evading them en route to an abandoned factory. Indeed, he found Sokolov inside, burning documents relating to the mystery of the new weapon. Snake explained he was there to get him out of the country, but immediate discussions with Sokolov revealed high stakes. Sokolov said an anti-Khrushchev group in the Soviet Union would attempt to topple the premier, and a key figure within this conspiracy, GRU Colonel Volgin, would stop at nothing to kidnap Sokolov and his brainchild as leverage. He intended to take down Khrushchev and set up his people in powerful positions.
On top of that, the tragedy last November, President Kennedy's assassination.
Precisely. In a sense, Khrushchev has lost his biggest partner, and his power base is rapidly crumbling away. A certain group is plotting to use this opportunity to seize power by rallying the anti-government forces, overthrowing Khrushchev, and installing Brezhnev and Kosygin in his place. The mastermind behind this plot is Colonel Volgin of the GRU. He has control over another secret weapons research facility much like this one, OKB-812, known as the Granin Design Bureau, and is using it to further his plans. But that is not enough to satisfy him. Now he's plotting to seize the secret weapon I have been developing here and use it as leverage in his bid for power.
Sokolov further told Snake that the KGB's most important priority was to prevent him from falling into Volgin's hands no matter what. He told Snake to hurry. He had to reach the extraction site as soon as possible. Snake told Major Tom that he had successfully obtained Sokolov and was now on his way to the recovery site. However, the Major had some news that was a cause for concern. The support unit had lost contact with the boss. Shaken by this revelation, Snake nonetheless continued with his mission. As Snake and Sokolov started to make their way to the extraction point, they were surrounded by KGB agents and taken hostage. Before things could get any worse, the KGB agents were suddenly mowed down by GRU Colonel Major Ocelot, who had mistakenly identified Snake as the boss. Realizing his mistake, Ocelot called in his special Ocelot unit to surround them. The confident Ocelot decided he could kill Snake himself, using some weird shooting style where the first bullet is manually ejected. At the crucial moment, however, it jammed. With this opportunity, Snake used close quarters combat, which utterly subdued Ocelot and his unit. Amidst all this chaos, Sokolov slipped away.
You're not the boss, are you?
operatives!
What is that stance? Huh. That gun. If you're not the boss, then die.
Major! Leave it! Shoot the other one! Whoa!
You ejected the first bullet by hand, didn't you? I see what you were trying to do. But testing a technique you've only heard about in the middle of battle wasn't very smart. You were asking to have your gun jam on you. Besides, I don't think you're cut out for an automatic in the first place. You tend to twist your elbow to absorb the recoil. That's more of a revolver technique.
You filthy American dog!
But that was some fancy shooting. You're pretty good.
Pretty good.
Snake chased Sokolov down to a rope bridge, where he finally overtook him. At the bridge, Sokolov pointed to a nearby mountain. Snake saw the Shagohod for the first time, a huge tank with very long-range nuclear missile launch capabilities. In a test run, he explained the nightmare the finishing of the development of that monster tank would bring forth. The Cold War would envelop the entire world. He said he had been forced to work on the project under the threat of death and that the abandonment of the project was connected with his defection. Just as Snake and Sokolov were about to begin crossing the bridge, the boss appeared, intercepting them. Much to Snake's surprise, she announced that she had betrayed the United States to the Soviet Union. Events then took a darker turn when members of the Cobra unit, the elite group of soldiers the boss had handpicked during the Second World War, detained Sokolov. The boss announced that her present to her new comrades in the Soviet Union consisted of Sokolov and several of the Davy Crockett miniature nuclear shells. Colonel Vogan subsequently showed up, joining the boss on the bridge. He ordered her to kill Snake as he refused to side with them. The boss went on to attack Snake, first breaking his left elbow with a brutal vertical arm chop and then threw him off the bridge. Injured, Snake could still manage to catch her bandana before falling into the river below.
Jack, you can't come with us.
Washing up on shore after the fall, Snake called in to his support team and started to treat his injuries based on the directions given by paramedic. Snake suffered a fractured left rib, lacerations to the upper arms, right elbow, and abdomen, with his left elbow having been fractured. Gritting his teeth, he popped his arm back into place and used his bandana as a makeshift wrap. Exhausted, he leaned against a tree, catching his breath. While recovering, Snake saw a squadron of 5 prototype Hind A gunships pass overhead, carrying the Shagohod from the research facility where Sokolov was a captive. The captives taken away included a female KGB officer named Tatiana. Volgin and Ocelot theorized that her relationship to Sokolov, who was in the cell nearby, was that of lover. When a concealed kiss of death device was found on her, Volgin gloated over her capture as a fine catch. Finding the Sokolov Design Bureau to serve no further purpose, Volgin readied himself to test a Davy Crockett nuclear launcher on the OKB-754 research facility. Ocelot, notably horrified by this plan, protested and pointed out the utter ridiculousness of nuking their own countrymen, to which Volgin dismissed this objection, coldly stating the blame would fall to the boss, framing her as the mastermind behind the attack. With a sneer, he said the magic words, "Remember the Alamo," and fired the weapon. The explosion destroyed the facility and implicated the boss and the United States in a nuclear attack unauthorized by American leadership. The nuclear strike concluded the virtuous mission in a disaster. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev immediately called the United States President Lyndon B. Johnson to account, having discovered an American aircraft in Soviet airspace. With the cold sweat of imminent all-out nuclear war on his brow, Johnson made the situation clear to Khrushchev that the incident was an act of the boss and Colonel Volgin. The boss had defected with 2 portable Davy Crockett launchers in Tau. While Khrushchev personally believed Johnson's explanation, he still had to press for evidence of America's innocence in an attempt to mollify the Red Army and save face himself after the embarrassment of the Cuban Missile Crisis. The message was blunt. The U.S. would need to take out both the boss and Volgin. Failure to comply would be met with nuclear retaliation. The situation escalated, moving the United States to DEFCON 2. Meanwhile, Snake was in intensive care in a state-of-the-art ICU. Top brass grilled him relentlessly over his supposed complicity in the boss's defection. Many suspected him of being an accomplice and a traitor. Major Tom visited him with a grim proposition. To restore the Fox unit's honor and prevent execution, Snake would need to undertake a new mission. The CIA had tasked him with assassinating the boss, his former mentor, and the woman he had once admired above all. If he failed, both he and Major Tom would pay the ultimate price.
To put it simply, in order to avoid a full-scale nuclear conflict, we have to prove that America was not involved in that explosion.
And eliminating the boss ourselves will prove America's innocence?
Right. The higher-ups have decided that you're the only one capable of pulling this off. You were her last apprentice. Screw this one up, and we'll both be 6 feet under. There's no choice.
For the new mission, the KGB gave Snake and Major Tom communication satellites so they could stay in touch. 2 NSA defectors were to help Snake, Adam and Eva. Adam was planted within the ranks of the GRU and would help provide an exit route for Snake once the mission was complete. On August 30th, 1964 at 11:30 p.m., Snake was inserted into Selenoarsk via Lockheed D-21 drone, launched from the back of an M-21 aircraft flying 30,000 feet above the Arctic Ocean. The insertion path came from the North Pole. Going through heavily guarded airspace was already an extremely cautious act in response to the events during the Virtuous mission. It was a tense time when 2 Soviet MiGs almost intercepted the M-21, but managed to insert the drone carrying Snake beforehand and before the aircraft eventually crashed. Upon landing, Major Tom changed his code name to Major Zero and reiterated Snake's mission objectives, codenaming this operation Snake Eater. a named representative of Snake's mission to take on the boss and her elite Cobra unit. Major Zero also introduced a new member of the support team, Sigint, an expert in advanced weaponry. Paramedic was also returning as her career was on the line after the Virtuous mission's failure. Snake's first task was to make his way back to the abandoned factory in Rasfet and meet up with Adam. En route, Snake received the shock of his life when he encountered the boss. She greeted him with a cold smile and sarcasm that bit deep, but soon degenerated into an exchange of close combat. The boss sent Snake flying across the floor with her superior strength. Her demeanor was now an icy glare. She warned him to abandon the mission, threatening to kill him should they ever meet again. To drive the point home, the boss had dismantled his weapon, destroyed the D-21 drone, called in Soviet ground forces to alert them to Snake's presence, and used her horse to crush Snake's hand beneath its hoof.
Go home. Go home. Gru and my sons are waiting up ahead. You don't have a prayer of finishing your mission. You're not even armed.
Boss!
I'm not your boss anymore. There's nothing for you here. Go home. Go back to your boss. There's no need to prove that you are virtuous here. This isn't America. That should stir things up a bit. You'd better hurry. The border is 60 miles south of here. You ought to be able to run that far.
Why'd you defect?
I didn't. I'm loyal to the end, to my purpose. What about you, Jack? What's it going to be? Loyalty to your country or loyalty to me? Your country or your old mentor? The mission or your beliefs? Your duty to your unit or your personal feelings? You don't know the truth yet. But sooner or later, you'll have to choose. I don't expect you to forgive me. But you can't defeat me either. You know me too well. Just look at that bandana. If you can't put the past behind you, you won't survive long. If we meet again, I'll kill you. Now, go home.
Even though the guards were on his trail, Snake didn't get caught. Then he headed back to meet Adam at the abandoned factory. While he was searching, out came a woman riding a motorcycle who introduced herself to him as Eva, one of Adam's agents in the operation. However, Snake didn't trust her because she didn't say the password, La, Li, Lu, Lei, Lo. It wasn't until she saved Snake from a Gru ambush that he grudgingly accepted her help. Once inside the factory, Eva fitted Snake with a disguise as a scientist to help him move inconspicuously and gave him a specially modified M1911 and returned his MK22 from the previous mission. Eva begged Snake to sleep for a while, and then warned him that it was dangerous to travel in the jungle at night without a guide. While Snake slept, Eva stood guard but secretly sent a coded message to headquarters with a vacuum radio hidden in her briefcase. The following morning, Snake woke as Eva prepared to leave, but their plans were halted by the sound of footsteps drawing near. With Gru Major Ocelot and his unit closing in on them, Snake knew the chances of slipping away from that many troops would be slim at best. Telling Eva to remain hidden, Snake took the soldiers down one after another. After Snake neutralized the rest of the Ocelot unit, he encountered the Major himself, holding Eva captive. Surprised by the fact that his prisoner was indeed a woman, Ocelot commented on her scent before attempting to shoot Snake down with his newly acquired revolver. However, the Major had miscalculated and forgot that the cylinder only held 6 bullets, which he had already fired once before. Taking advantage, Eva overpowered Ocelot and kicked him from the platform they were facing each other on. Although she said to shoot him to eliminate the witness, Snake stopped her and Ocelot retreated. Eva explained she had to get back to Vulcan before Ocelot could report back and rode off on her motorcycle. Snake meanwhile set his sights on Granny Gorky, where Eva indicated Sokolov was being held.
You call that an accident? Well, it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been showing off. What did you say? It's a nice gun, I'll give you that. But the engraving gives you no tactical advantage whatsoever. Unless you were planning to auction it off as a collector's item. And you're forgetting one more very basic thing. You don't have what it takes to kill me.
We'll see.
That thing only carries 6 shots. The Makarov carries 8. You have to get a feel for how many you have left. This is a high-class weapon. It's not meant for shooting people.
Damn! This isn't over yet.
Don't.
Why?
He's still young.
You'll regret stopping me. Damn it! I've got to get back before he does.
En route to Granny Gorky, Snake again confronted Ocelot, this time on the opposite side of a gully in Balshla Pass. With the route ahead blocked by a patrol of armed soldiers, Snake gun fought with Ocelot. However, they were interrupted when a swarm of hornets suddenly appeared and attacked the two men. In the confusion, Ocelot escaped, and Snake, who had been overwhelmed and blinded by the swarm, jumped into the crevice below to get past the insects. Snake found himself in a maze-like cavern, working his way deeper into it until he encountered one of the boss's elite Cobra unit, the Pain. With his telekinetic control over hornets, the Pain protected himself from attack while sending waves of insects against Snake. Initially, he seemed invulnerable, but he finally left the opening for Snake to strike and defeat him.
The pain! The pain! The pain!
Continuing his quest, Snake reached the warehouse, where he witnessed a meeting between the key figures. He saw members of the Cobra unit present: the End, the Fear, and the Boss, Colonel Volgin, Sokolov, and Tatiana, who was really Eva in disguise. Volgin violently threatened Sokolov by electrocuting Tatiana. Meanwhile, the Boss intervened in Ocelot's imprudent attempt at shooting Sokolov in Russian roulette, reprimanding his impulsive behavior at the Krevins. She then reported the Pain's death to Volgin, which did little to lighten his mood. As the Fear went his way to pursue Snake, the meeting was dismissed as a rainstorm was nearing. Volgin did not particularly mind the rain, as he took Tatiana away to be with him until the weather improved. Snake, determined to push ahead, now needed to infiltrate the warehouse in order to proceed to Granny Gorky.
Each time you resist, your lover will suffer the consequences. Is that clear?
Volgin. Damn you!
Hold it right there, traitor. Let's find out just how lucky you are. Watch closely. One of these 3 guns has a single bullet in it. I'm going to pull the trigger 6 times in a row. Are you ready? Looks like your luck hasn't run out yet.
There's no such thing as luck on the battlefield. You'd better stay in line from now on. The Cobras will take care of him.
Has the CIA dog been disposed of yet?
The Pain is dead.
What? child, but he's definitely one of yours. I fear Khrushchev may have a hand in this. We have no time to lose. You must eliminate him before the final test.
Don't worry. They'll be able to handle it. I'm leaving him to you, the field.
The old man is always sleeping. Is he all right?
The end is saving what life he has left in him for battle. Normally, he's dead. But he'll wake up when the time is right. And when he does, it will be the end for the boy.
No. Sokolov isn't worth your love. You can entertain me until the rain stops. Kuwabara, Kuwabara.
Desaro, is that you?
Entering the research laboratory at Granny Gorky, Snake put on the scientist's disguise given to him by Eva and made his way inside the facility. He entered the main office, where the lab's director, Dr. Granin, was in a heavily intoxicated state. Bitter over Volgin's decision to develop the Shagohod while ignoring his own invention, Granin waxed enthusiastic about his design for a bipedal tank which he dubbed Metal Gear, a revolutionary weapon he claimed that filled the gap between infantry and artillery. Granin confidently told him that he was going to send the scheme of Metal Gear to some contact in the United States just in case his work someday would be recognized. Granin further clarified the source of Volgin's immense wealth, the philosopher's legacy, a huge fortune funding advanced weapons development and the construction of heavily fortified Grozny Grad in the mountains. Sympathetic to Snake's mission and eager to undermine Volgin, Granin gave Snake a keycard to access a locked door in the warehouse, with details regarding the secret underground tunnel circling Grozny Grad's perimeter.
Philosopher's legacy. Haven't you heard of the philosophers? The Colonel has inherited their immense legacy. Volgin's father was in charge of the philosophers' money laundering activities. In the confusion of the war, they somehow ended up with their treasure. And Volgin inherited that treasure illegally. We never need to worry about the military budget. The development costs at our facility are all paid out of the Colonel's deep pockets. The weapons born here will be the genes for creating an entirely new form of warfare. The funding for my research came out of that legacy. Came out of it. Now, my money, my men, all have been diverted to the Shagohod project. Tomorrow they will be conducting the final test, while Sokolov is making the final preparations in the weapons factory at Volgin's main base, the great fortress of Grozny Grad. Here I am, playing host to an enemy spy and drinking myself into a stupor.
That's where they moved Sokolov?
Yes.
And the Shagohod is there too?
Of course.
As Snake left the laboratory and headed back towards the warehouse, he was ambushed by the Fear, an operative of Cobra Unit who was fitted with an experimental stealth suit and enhanced agility. Snake defeated the Fear in a grueling battle, killing another member of the boss's elite unit. With Granin's keycard, Snake returned to the warehouse, and Eva contacted him again to say that she had a key for the underground tunnel leading to Groznygrad. He couldn't use the one that Granin gave to him as it was inoperable. She also told him something about the end, that the legendary Cobra Unit sniper is waiting to finally engage with him in the Socorrino forest. There, Snake confronted the end in a fierce, long sniper battle. Snake would win, finally by stealth, guile, and patience, and end the career of the century-old sharpshooter. The defeat of the end paved the way for the mountains, and Snake pushed forward.
The time has come for a younger generation to rise. I've been wandering for more than a century, and now my journey comes to a close. What a splendid way to end it all. I have no regrets. I can return to the Forum Allah.
At the mountain, Snake met Eva in the ruins of an old building. She gave him the correct key for the underground tunnel and told him that she had prepared an escape vehicle, a wig, still at Rakova Barrack. Eva then informed Snake about the whereabouts of Sokolovs at Groznygrad, the weapons lab West Wing, which was heavily guarded and could be reached only in disguise as GRU Major Ivan Rykov. During their exchange, Snake noticed scars on Eva's body, which she attributed to Vogan's sadistic tendencies, rather than suspicion of her role as a spy. When Snake inquired about a particular scar near her stomach, she was invasive, hinting at a past beyond her NSA work. Despite her attempts to seduce him, Snake remained hesitant, their moment interrupted by the sound of a distant gunshot. Outside, the two of them looked out to the distance and saw Groznygrad. Through his scope, he could see Vogan standing over an oil drum, punching it repeatedly, with his fist enhanced by bullets. Blood leaked out of the drum as Vogan sent the drum flying into the air to reveal Granin's corpse tumbling out. Accused of spying, Granin had died a violent death. Snake could also see some familiar figures within the base: the boss, Ocelot, and the mysterious Tatiana.
Colonel, did he talk?
No, he died before I could get it out of him.
Wasn't the spy then?
Look at this.
A transmitter?
Exactly. Planted to keep someone informed of his location.
But does this mean Granin was the spy?
Perhaps he was being used by someone else.
Perhaps. This man was our comrade.
Comrade or not, he's of no use to us now.
I don't approve of your methods.
I don't need your approval. I'm in command here.
And that nuclear shell?
Still feeling sore about that, are you? What are you gonna do? Report it to the authorities? This is war, Major. A Cold War, fought with information and espionage. We must root out spies wherever they hide. It is kill or be killed. Potential threats must be weeded out. Your feelings are a menace to the unity of our organization. Someone is guiding the enemy's hand. A single man can only accomplish so much. Make no mistake, there is a spy among us.
But casting suspicion on our own comrades.
The C3 explosives have been stolen.
You think it was the American?
No. He could not have reached this fortress yet.
Then who?
I'd be careful about suspecting your own men.
Boss!
Where have you been?
The fear and the end have fallen.
Damn it! CIA dog? That leaves only the Fury. How can the legendary Cobras be beaten so easily?
He's good.
Fallen for him?
Don't worry. I'll take care of him.
What is he after? Must be more than just Sokolov.
America is out to destroy the Shagohod and get its hands on your inheritance. The Philosopher's legacy.
Huh? Impossible. The legacy, it...
Then they're out to kill me as well. Colonel, tighten the security on this place. He's coming here, I'm sure of it. I'm gonna get the Davy Crockett.
As he ventured deeper through the tunnel, Snake engaged in another member of the Cobra unit, the Fury. Equipped with a flamethrower and jetpack, the underground passageway became a pyre through which Snake had to navigate, and even after a tense fight that Snake won, the Fury's self-explosion set off a series of fires, collapsing the catacombs so they wouldn't be accessible again.
Boss, this is the end of the Cobras. You've got to live on. You're the only one left. I'm off. To join the sorrow. Behold, the flames of fury. The fires of hell will purge me clean. I can see it. Mission Control, do you read me? I'm coming home. I see the Earth.
Emerging from the tunnel, Snake climbed a ladder that led into the heart of Groznygrad. First things first, he had to find and knock out Major Ivan Rykov, a GRU officer. Once Rykov had been successfully knocked out, Snake donned Rykov's uniform and mask that had originally been for a CIA operation that had been scrapped. Wearing the disguise, Snake was able to move freely through the base in search of Sokolov. Having found Sokolov, Snake saw Tatiana leave the room with a film reel. Inside the room, Sokolov recognized Snake as the man from the CIA. Sokolov explained Phase 2 of the Shagohod project, a rocket booster attached to the tank, allowing it to reach speeds of over 300 miles per hour. This innovation extended its missile range from 250,000 miles to a staggering 6,000 miles, making it capable of striking anywhere in the United States from Soviet territory. The plan of Volgin to mass-produce Shagohod within 24 hours was catastrophic, as its deployment across the East Bloc could escalate the Cold War into global nuclear warfare. When Snake asked him how to destroy the Shagohod, Sokolov said to use C3 explosives. He also said that Tatiana was not his lover, but his supervisor on the Shagohod project, and Volgin had forced her into the role of his mistress. Resigned to his fate, Sokolov refused to leave the base, saying even if he defected to the United States, he will only be used to build the weapons of war. As Snake prepared to escort Sokolov out of the base, Volgin appeared and immediately saw through the disguise. In a brutal display, Volgin shot out Sokolov's knees. The boss entered, exposing Snake's true identity and disarming him before Volgin exacted revenge for Rykov's injury by savagely beating Snake. Snake was then taken to the Groznygrad prison for interrogation.
I've been waiting for you in my room. Who are you? Don't play dumb with me. If you think you can fool me, you're sorely mistaken. I know the Major better than anyone else. I come here looking for Tatiana, and what should I find? But a greasy freebooter.
This fairy disguise. It's gonna rub off on you. And then you'll lose sight of who you really are. Stay out of this!
I see why they call you the boss. What was that? Some kind of judo?
No, it's called CQC, a basic form of close quarters combat. He and I developed it together.
Splendid. I'll take it from here.
Are you going to kill him?
Of course. But first, I will make him pay for hurting Ivan.
Snake came to, bound and blinded by a plastic bag over his head. He could hear the sound of Vogan's torture of Sokolov, who eventually fell silent, presumably dead. Vogan turned his attention to Snake, drenching him in water before electrocuting him repeatedly, demanding to know what the CIA knew and whether they were after the philosopher's legacy. The boss told him that Snake was trained to resist torture, but Vogan continued anyway, eventually finding a transmitter on Snake. In a rage, Vogan accused Snake of leading spies to Groznygrad. The boss confessed to having set the transmitter, claiming it was all part of a plan to lure Cobra into ambushes. Suspecting her loyalty, Vogan asked the boss to prove herself and cut out Snake's right eye. The boss hesitated but moved to comply. At the last moment, Tatiana intervened, insisting Snake had suffered enough. This drew Ocelot's suspicion, as he accused Tatiana of being the spy. He decided to test her loyalty by juggling his revolvers, one loaded with a single bullet and firing 6 random shots. Snake, not wanting to see a hair on Tatiana's head harmed, flung himself onto Ocelot mid-action, causing one of the latter guns to fire. The shot struck Snake in the right eye, permanently blinding it. Snake screamed in agony while Tatiana and the boss watched in horror.
I know that smell.
Stop it!
Taking a fancy to her, eh, Ocelot?
No, I have no interest in this woman. I want to test her. I'll let this be the judge.
Do as you like.
Here we go.
There, satisfied now?
Well, that was refreshing. Come, we're going to my room.
While in his cell, Snake found that the bullet the boss had shot into his leg wasn't lethal. It contained a fake death pill. He managed to extract it with a fork for the setup of his escape. During his captivity, Snake made friends with Johnny, his guard, and they talked about his family, the futility of the Cold War, and the history of their nation's friendships. With all the friendliness, Johnny would not let Snake go and accidentally returned Snake's cigarette gas spray, thinking it was just cigarettes. Snake later overpowered his kidnapper and escaped the prison at Groznygrad. Eva called him and let him know that his escape route was compromised, and he had to retreat into the sewer system underground. Down in the sewers, Snake was relentlessly pursued by Ocelot and his unit. Just as Ocelot caught up, he was playing a game of Russian roulette, spinning the chamber and pulling the trigger. The gun misfired, and Snake seized the moment to leap from the drainage waterfall into the river below. Near death, Snake was confronted by the Sorrow, a surreal vision haunted by the spirits of every enemy he had killed. Reviving himself with the revival pill hidden in his tooth, Snake emerged coughing up water and being carried downstream. Eva met Snake on the riverbank and handed him a makeshift eye patch for his injured eye. Both of them talked about their plans for after the mission, Snake trying to catch a butterfly in the air but missing due to his impaired depth perception. Eva then briefed him on the next step, blowing up the Shagohod. She gave Snake a block of C3 and explained the plan to target the 4 liquid fuel tanks in the hangar. Before parting ways, she took a picture of Snake with her button camera, labeling it insurance in case he betrayed her. Snake re-entered Grozny Grad via the tunnel Eva mentioned, but found himself temporarily stuck when a BTR-152 APC parked directly over his means of escape. Having to think on his feet, Snake made his way through the base into the hangar containing the Shagohod.
I just finished planting the second charge. Give me a little more time.
Okay, I'll be waiting for you at the bridge.
He carefully planted C3 on the liquid fuel tanks. As he prepared the 4th charge, Snake reshaped the explosive into a butterfly, briefly tossing it into the air before pressing it into place. Just as he finished setting the timer, Volgin and Ocelot arrived with Eva lying on the ground behind them. The boss appeared, disarming Snake and scattering his weapons across the floor. Volgin told him that Tatiana had been discovered as a spy when she was found in the underground vault of the fortress with the microfilm of the Philosopher's Legacy. Snake asked him what the legacy was. Volgin explained that the Philosopher's Legacy was an misfortune amassed during World War II by the most powerful leaders of Russia, the United States, and China to fund secret projects like the atomic bomb and the Cobra unit. After the war, Volgin's father secured control over the legacy, laundering the money into banks across Switzerland, Australia, and Hong Kong. The microfilm contained detailed records of these transactions, giving its holder access to the entire fortune.
During the last Great War, the most powerful men in America, China, and the Soviet Union had a secret pact. The pact was a blueprint for defeating the Axis powers and creating a new world order. To secure victory in the war, the 3 countries pooled their resources to conduct the most covert types of operations and research. The atomic bomb, rocket technology, the Cobra unit. And they amassed an enormous sum of money to fund these projects, enough to fight the war 5 times over. That wealth is the Philosopher's Legacy. After the war was won, the 3 countries were to divide the Philosopher's Legacy amongst themselves. This explains why the United States and the Soviet Union were able to steal away the best scientific minds in Germany as soon as the war ended. But our great motherland has far surpassed its pathetic rivals. We possess enormous wealth, the most advanced technology, and overwhelming power, assets fitting of our great country. My father was one of the men in charge of managing the Philosopher's Legacy. In the confusion that ensued after the war ended, he devised a series of ingenious plots to ensure that the Soviet Union would have total control over the legacy. The money was divided up and laundered through banks all over the world. Switzerland, Australia, and Hong Kong. This microfilm contains a record of all those transactions. After my father's death, I learned of this secret and obtained the microfilm. With this money and the support of Brezhnev and his allies, I built this fortress of Grozny Grad and Granin's research facility. But that worthless fool Granin failed to produce results. I was forced to turn to Khrushchev's dog Sokolov and his invention, the Shagohod. My position in GRU made it too troublesome to attack Sokolov's facility directly. But the spy network established by the secret pact still existed. I used it to contact the boss and suggested that she defect. The boss was conniving enough to see things my way. The world was once one, but the conflict between the philosophers has torn it in two. We will use the legacy to heal that rift and make the world whole again. To do this, we need strength, an unstoppable trump card with enough power to bring order to the world. That trump card was to be the Shagohod and the Cobra unit.
He continued that with Brezhnev and his fraction behind him. He built Grozny Grad and Granin's research facility before turning to Sokolov Shagohod when Granin couldn't produce results. A GRU officer like Volgin couldn't overtly sabotage fellow projects, but used the philosopher's spy network to propose the boss defect and offered her the Shagohod as part of the bargain. She did, and with her betrayal, the Shagohod was theirs. Volgin thought the legacy and the Shagohod could mend the gap between the world and reunited that was torn apart by the philosophers. Volgin gave the boss the philosopher's legacy, telling her to protect it. She left, taking Eva with her, but not before saying that Snake might have set explosives throughout the base.
Fight like a warrior, Volgin.
But of course.
Volgin then challenged Snake, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime battle. The ensuing fight was fierce, with Snake overcoming Volgin's brutal attacks. As Snake gained the upper hand, Volgin ordered Ocelot to shoot Snake. Ocelot refused, citing a promise he made to the boss not to act dishonorably. Enraged, Volgin tried to fright Ocelot with a powerful electric attack, but Ocelot responded with his revolvers, ridiculing Volgin's lack of honor. Just then, a PA announcement brought up the bombs in the hangar, and at Volgin's behest, Ocelot was set to defuse them. Ocelot, after a moment of hesitation, obliged, stopping only to give Snake an encouraging hand gesture and confidence. Snake defeated Volgin in the long, exhaustive battle, making his opponent cough up blood, leading to Snake's escape. Outside, Snake finally reunited with Eva. After the hangar exploded, she told him that a wig was already set at a nearby lake. Snake was hesitant to leave, but Eva said the boss was waiting for him there. Just as they were about to leave, the Shagohod burst from the wreckage, piloted by a vengeful Volgin. As Volgin pursued them in the Shagohod, Eva unveiled her plan. She had rigged C3 on the bridge struts leading to the jungle and could blow it up along with the Shagohod. Their escape wasn't that easy as GRU soldiers and motorcyclists pursued them, and even Ocelot joined the chase. In a reckless maneuver, Ocelot almost got himself killed by falling debris, only to be saved by Snake. Enraged, Volgin deliberately gunned the Shagohod's boosters to blind Ocelot, who was forced to lean back as he cursed Volgin in frustration. Snake and Eva barely avoided being crushed by the Shagohod as they neared the bridge at just the right time. Concerned with Volgin and his forces closing in on them, they shot the C3, blowing the bridge in a last-ditch attempt to destroy the Shagohod for good.
We did it!
It's over.
Look!
I'm not finished yet!
Eva, you take care of the driving.
Yeah?
Yeah, I trust you. On one condition, though, leave the fighting to me.
You got it. I was getting tired of running away anyway.
Eva, let's do it.
For luck.
Here goes.
Snake and Eva, determined to end the Shagohod threat for once and for all, flanked it, targeting the exposed rear weak point of the vehicle with Snake's RPG launcher. The unending waves of assault finally disabled the Shagohod, but out of the wreckage came Bogan, ripping out its cables and channeling his body's electrical current to the mammoth weapon. Undaunted, Snake pressed the attack, and eventually forcing Bogan to his knees. Just as Bogan was about to get up, a bolt of lightning struck him and set his body ablaze. The electrical discharge made the bullets across his chest explode in a firework display, apparently killing him.
Snake! Who's afraid of a little thunder?
Fried by a bolt of lightning. A fitting end. It's finally over.
No time for this now. The escape craft is just up ahead. Let's get going.
With the Shagohod destroyed, Snake and Eva resumed their escape. Still pursued by enemy soldiers on motorcycles and flying platforms, the chase ended abruptly when Eva's motorcycle crashed, sending her and Snake tumbling. Eva was then impaled by a tree branch just above the hip but survived. Snake helped her to her feet and tended to their injuries. His own included a lacerated knee and a fractured rib, while Eva sustained deep cuts to her abdomen and shoulder. The two, despite their injuries, forged deeper into the dense forest, avoiding enemy soldiers who combed the area around the wreckage motorcycle. Snake watched Eva's condition as they continued to make their way towards the Whig, waiting at Rokova Barrack. They finally reached the lake where the aircraft had been hidden. Snake came to a stop near a beautiful snow-white field of flowers because he knew that the boss would be waiting for him, leaving Eva to get the Whig ready for their departure. Snake stepped into the field to confront his former mentor for the final time.
Come on, Snake. We made it.
We made it.
Over there. It's the boss, isn't it? I'll go get the Whig ready to take off.
Right.
I'll leave you two alone. But come back in one piece, okay? Promise me!
A fierce wind rustled through the field, and then the boss appeared, carrying one of the Davy Crockett launchers. She told Snake about her dream to reunite the philosophers, using the legacy to restore completeness to the world. Her voice carried betrayal and hope as she recalled her past. She spoke of her friends in the Cobra unit, which was torn apart during the Cold War following the Second World War, and about her own near-death experiences. On November 1st, 1951, she had suffered radiation poisoning from a nuclear test in Nevada. The United States secretly launched her into space in 1960. The whole mission was bathed in sacrifice. Not having the shielding technology to block the cosmic radiation, she had been selected just because she had already been irradiated. In the blackness of space, she thought that the space race was as futile as the arms race, just another meaningless race. She dreamt of a time when humanity would know that Earth has no East, no West, no Cold War, a world free of communism and capitalism. Her story continued in 1961, where the CIA-sponsored invasion of Cuba took place. She was betrayed by the US government and could only watch wordlessly as helpless exiles were massacred. The boss became disillusioned and went underground. In 1962, she found herself at Selenoarsk, where the Sorrow had appeared before her and asked that she delete him to fulfill her mission. The boss revealed a snake-shaped scar running down her chest and abdomen, a sacrifice. In June 1944, on the Normandy landing, she gave birth on the battlefield to the Sorrow's child, a boy whom the philosophers stole away almost immediately. According to her, the philosophers morphed from visionaries to an infinite cycle of war fueled by the reason of sustaining a war itself. She introduced herself as the last child and narrated how her father, a high-ranking member, entrusted her with the forbidden secrets before being deleted by them. With tears in her eyes, the boss thanked Snake, confessing that she had never opened herself to anyone so much before. She radioed for MiG-21s to bomb the area in 10 minutes, then demanded Snake give everything he had in their final battle, declaring it would be the greatest fight of their lives. The resulting fight was tremendous and full of emotion and ended with Snake defeating his mentor. Dying afterward, the boss entrusted Snake with her will and the legacy, reiterating his role of successor.
It's our only hope.
patriot. Why are you giving me this?
Jack. Or should I say, Snake. You're a wonderful man. Kill me. Kill me now. Do it. There's only room for one boss and one snake.
After the battle, Snake came back to the Wig to make his escape with Eva. As they ruse, Ocelot ambushed them, jumping on board to the aircraft to confront Snake in one last duel. The two fought physically, Ocelot boasting of new moves he had learned by watching Snake use CQC, tapping into the lessons of the boss from the Virtuous Mission. Snake was able to counter the attacks of Ocelot, evening the score. Ocelot finally pulled out two revolvers, loading one with a blank, and asked Snake for his real name. When Snake replied, John, Ocelot smirked in a bid farewell. After a tense standoff, neither fired, and Ocelot leapt from the plane into the water below, satisfied with their duel. The Wig narrowly avoided collision with the mountains, only to be met by two prepared MiG-21s that were ready to shoot them down. Eva, resigned to her fate, was shot when the MiGs suddenly disengaged, under direct orders from Khrushchev to let them go.
It's no use. There's no way we can outmaneuver them. They're gonna shoot us down. We were so close.
Weapon systems on.
Locked on target. I got towed.
You were great, Eva.
Huh?
Thanks.
Bulk 19, this is Control. Stand by for a direct order from the chairman. Bulk 19, return to base immediately. Do you read me? This is a direct order from Comrade Khrushchev. Return to base immediately. Bulk 19, do you copy? Understood. Aborting mission. RTB.
Look! The MiGs are turning back! Woo!
Snake and Eva reached the safe house in Alaska, the two sharing a moment of respite after their harrowing journey. They joked and laughed and eventually spending the night together. But when Snake woke up the next morning, Eva was nowhere to be found. In her place was an audio message waiting to be played. As Snake listened, Eva's voice revealed a shocking truth. She confessed to being a Chinese-American spy sent by the Chinese People's Liberation Army to acquire the philosopher's legacy for China. The NSA codebreakers who defected Adam and Eva were both males. Eva had assumed the code name for her mission after the real Adam failed to show. Desperate to close the gap with the United States and USSR in both nuclear and space technology since the Soviet Union had turned off its aid to Spigot in 1959, China saw the legacy as a way to leapfrog both superpowers. Snake clenched his fist in a combination of betrayal and rage. However, he became even more puzzled because the microfilm Eva said she had stolen was still in his pocket. He threw it away and listened further. Eva continued by explaining that she was an agent trained in the charm schools of the philosophers to always tell lies. However, the boss was different, the one person Eva couldn't disguise herself from. Eva confessed that she had been ordered to kill Snake, but couldn't go through with it because of a promise she made to the boss. She revealed the truth about the boss's final mission. The boss hadn't betrayed her country, she had died for it. The entire operation was orchestrated by the US government to secure the legacy and destroy the Shagohod. Bogan's reckless use of the Davy Crockett had forced the mission to evolve, and the boss was to be scapegoated. The boss was to die at Snake's hand, a traitor to her own country, a monster to the Soviet Union. Her name was to be dishonored, her sacrifices unappreciated, known but to her final disciple. With the message over, Eva rode off into the distance on her motorcycle, leaving Snake with nothing but words in a self-destructing recording. Afterwards, Snake was called before President Lyndon B. Johnson, who presented him with the title of Big Boss and the Distinguished Service Cross. Snake accepted, reluctantly shaking the president's hand, but shunning the CIA director and Major Zero and the team. What had occurred was too heavy to handle. At Arlington National Cemetery, Snake visited the boss's grave to pay his respects. He had flowers and her Patriot gun laid on the grave, which he had marked with the engraving "In memory of a patriot who saved the world." Standing in the stark silence, tears streamed down his face as he gave a salute to her memory, a final poignancy farewell to a mentor and a friend.
Not as a soldier, but as a woman. But she was forbidden to tell you herself. And that's why she told me. Snake, history will never know what she did. No one will ever learn the truth. Her story, her debriefing, will endure only in your heart. Everything she did for her country. She sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot.
Meanwhile, Ocelot informed the KGB chief director of the events concerning the destruction of Groznygrad and the Granin Research Facility, as well as the impending fall of Khrushchev. He alluded to the fact that knowledge about the virtuous mission and Operation Snake Eater could be used as leverage against America during later negotiations. In no time, Ocelot made another call, this time to the DCI. He disclosed to him that the microfilm Eva had stolen was a fake, while the real philosopher's legacy had arrived in America, but only half of it. Ocelot, the eternal opportunist, raised the possibility of retrieving the other half from the KGB, despite some risk. He also confirmed the destruction of the Shagohod and shared that he had acquired the blueprints for a new project from Granin, plans that could shape America's future. Finally, Ocelot disclosed his true identity. He was the real Adam, a triple agent working for the CIA, Vulcan, and the Philosophers. The very goal of it was to resurrect the American branch of the Philosophers with legacy and establish himself with the CIA once and for all. He hung up, reaffirming his allegiance to the agency, and left behind a trail of questions.
Yes, Groznygrad and the Granin Research Facility have both been wiped out without a trace. I understand, sir, but they were necessary sacrifices. Yes, the CIA has taken care of the boss themselves. I believe the White House will be satisfied. Khrushchev is finished. Your time has finally arrived. Yes, the American president is relying on us to keep a lid on the whole affair. We've got him by the balls. It should make a valuable trump card in future negotiations. Yes, Chief Director, of course. I'll keep the KGB informed. Yes, it's me. The boss has accomplished her mission. The Philosopher's legacy is now safely with us, in America's hands. With this money, yes, the Philosophers can finally be revived. The film we handed the Chinese was a fake. Peking must be in an uproar right about now. I'm afraid so. Only half the money has made it back to the United States. The KGB must still have part of the legacy. Yes, the weapon has been reduced to ashes. That's right. Grozny Grad has been obliterated by the Davy Crockett we brought in as well. Yes, that was the boss's work too. Speaking of which, I've obtained something from Granin that you might find interesting. It's a revolutionary new nuclear attack system. Perhaps it might just come in handy someday. Yes, we have Snake to thank for that. Khrushchev believed it as well. Yes, they bought our story. I don't think they'll be making a fuss. The secondary alert has been lifted as well. And the Soviets still haven't discovered my true identity. They have no idea that I've been triple-crossing them. I will continue my activities as a contact for the new government. Yes, it appears that no one knew that I was Adam. Of course, I'm always at the CIA's disposal, Mr. Director.
If you've been following my channel since my first Metal Gear video, you know I've talked about Kojima's love for film. It's evident in games like Metal Gear, Snatcher, and Policenauts, each feel cinematic in its own right. The first Metal Gear Solid had that 90s action movie vibe, while the sequel went more retro and meta. But Snake Eater? It's a whole different beast. Unlike previous games where we played the hero, this one puts us in the shoes of the series' antagonist, giving us his origin story. In the original Metal Gear, Big Boss was the villain, the big bad wolf. Kojima brought him back in the sequel with only references in Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2. So while we've explored Solid Snake and Raiden, Big Boss remained a mystery. Snake Eater lets us dive into a villain's origin story. It's a common trope. The antagonist doesn't start evil. It happens over time. Many franchises have done this, making us sympathize with the bad guy. Take Star Wars, for example. From 1999 to 2005, we witnessed the origin of cinema's greatest villain, seeing how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. Through the movies, we see over time he gets darker and darker, and then boom, he's with the dark side. Or switch franchises and look at Harry Potter, specifically the novels. Many fans consider Half-Blood Prince their favorite, partially because it explores Voldemort's history. We know who Tom Riddle becomes, but we wonder who Tom Riddle was. We see how life was before he was born and later to when he started being called Voldemort. Sadly, he just wanted to know where he came from because he was an orphan. Although he lacked the ability to love, we see the woman that brought him into this world let him go when he was born. For a brief moment, people will start to sympathize with the villain. All because we were anxious to find out who the villain really was, made these two sources of media excel amongst others. It's the same curiosity that drives Snake Eater. We know Big Boss is the villain, but now we get to see John or Jack before he became Big Boss. It's all about understanding the journey. How does the hero fall from grace? I recently read an article by Becca Puglisi on Writers Helping Writers about creating a moral villain. She outlined 4 key elements, but 2 really stood out to me. The first was know the villain's backstory. She emphasizes what were they like in the past, what happened that changed them, who was kind to them, who was cruel. Every villain has a backstory that should explain why they are the way that they are today. Dredge it up and create a profile. Then dole out the important bits to readers so they can get a glimpse at who the villain used to be and how they became a monster. Before Metal Gear Solid 3, Big Boss was just a legendary soldier, cloned to create Solid Snake. But this game, we see a different side of him. We witness Big Boss as a man with a heart, struggling to separate his emotions from his mission. His journey to become a soldier is his biggest challenge, one he must face alone. We learn that his transformation stems from the pain inflicted by a government that treated him more like a tool than a human being. The second crucial element she mentions, give the villain someone to care about. In Snake Eater, we see Big Boss's deep love for the boss and his strong emotions towards Eva. His actions, like wearing the boss's bandana to remember her, protecting Eva from Ocelot's Russian roulette, show he genuinely cares for others. She notes, love is a moral concept, the idea that a person cares more for someone else than they do for themselves. Show that your villain is capable of caring, and you'll add a layer of depth to their character. Kojima's understanding of narrative structures allows us to sympathize with Big Boss. By exploring his past and showing his capacity for love, we see the complex human behind the villain, while concepts of right and wrong can shift based on perspective. Our emotional connection to a character can change everything. This approach transforms Big Boss from a one-dimensional antagonist into a complex, relatable character, making his eventual fall all the more tragic and impactful.
That was her final mission. And like a true soldier, she saw it through to the end. But I think she wanted you, of all people, to know the truth. She wanted to live on in your memory. Not as a soldier, but as a woman. But she was forbidden to tell you herself. And that's why she told me. Snake, history will never know what she did. No one will ever learn the truth. Her story, her debriefing, will endure only in your heart. Everything she did for her country. She sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot.
Now, when looking at how this narrative is structured, we see instead of the old typical hero's journey like we've seen in Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2, we actually get the 3-act structure. The game opens up in 1964 during the Cold War, introducing Naked Snake as he embarks on a mission to rescue Soviet scientist Sokolov. The first act sets up the primary conflict and introduces key characters, including Snake's mentor, the boss, Volgin, and Sokolov. The mission takes an unexpected turn when the boss appears at the effect of the Soviet Union, providing Colonel Volgin with nuclear weapons. This event serves as the inciting incident, propelling Snake into a more complex and personal mission. In the second act, Snake returns to the Soviet territory as part of Operation Snake Eater. His objective is to eliminate the boss and prevent a potential nuclear war. This section of the game deepens the narrative, as Snake encounters various members of the Cobra unit and forms alliances with characters like Eva. The player experiences Snake's internal struggle as he grapples with the task of killing his former mentor. This act is punctuated by intense battles, stealth sequences, and revelations about the true nature of the conflict. The final act culminates in a series of confrontations, including the destruction of the Shagohod and the emotionally charged battle with the boss. The game's climax is followed by a denouement that reveals the full scope of the boss's sacrifice and the manipulations of various governments. This revelation transforms Snake's understanding of his mission and sets the stage for his future as Big Boss.
You are above even the boss. I hereby award you the title of Big Boss. You are a true patriot.
In the army. Someone like him to handle our top secret sneaking missions for us.
So besides this game being the origin of Big Boss, we also get a look at a group of men called the Philosophers. The Philosophers were a secret organization composed of the wealthiest and most influential individuals from the United States, Soviet Union, and China. Formed after World War I, the original purpose was to prevent another global conflict and work towards world peace. In the story, we see the Philosophers represent the human desire for control and the corrupting nature of power. Initially driven by noble intentions, their ideals became warped over time as they amassed wealth and influence. This transformation reflects the concept of moral decay, where individuals or groups gradually compromise their ethical standards as they gain more power. The Philosopher's legacy, a vast fortune about $100 billion, symbolizes the organization's immense influence and the allure of wealth. This massive financial power allowed them to manipulate global events, showcasing how economic control can be used as a tool for political dominance. The organization's willingness to separate children from their parents, as seen with Ocelot being taken from the boss, demonstrates a ruthless, ulterior approach. This behavior reflects a psychological detachment from individual human suffering in pursuit of larger goals, a trait often associated with powerful secretive organizations. In retrospect, we see this idea doesn't change. Even Zero takes the legacy and makes the Patriots and take Olga's child away from her. Their power has no morals or even limits, as it feels.
And my father isn't the only thing the Philosophers have taken from me. In June of 1944, the Cobras and I took part in the landing at Normandy. We'd been given a top-secret mission to locate and destroy enemy V-2 rocket installations. I was pregnant at the time. The sorrow was the father. I gave birth on the field of battle. A beautiful baby boy. But my child was snatched away from me by the Philosophers.
As the Philosophers' influence grew, they became more focused on warfare and control, losing sight of the original peaceful intentions. This shift illustrates the psychological phenomena of mission drift, where organizations gradually deviate from their initial purpose as they expand in power and scope. The fragmentation of the Philosophers after World War II, leading to the Cold War, represents the inherent instability of power structures built on competing interests. This breakdown showcases how even the most powerful alliances can crumble when individual ambitions and national interests take precedence over collective goals.
Men in America, China, and the Soviet Union had a secret pact. The pact was a blueprint for defeating the Axis powers and creating a new world order. To secure victory in the war, the three countries pooled their resources to conduct the most covert types of operations and research. The atomic bomb, rocket technology, the Cobra unit. And they amassed an enormous sum of money to fund these projects, enough to fight the war 5 times over. That wealth is the Philosopher's legacy. After the war was won, the three countries were to divide the Philosopher's legacy amongst themselves. This explains why the United States and the Soviet Union were able to steal away the best scientific minds in Germany as soon as the war ended.
Now as we look at themes, this game masterfully explores the theme of manipulation, portraying soldiers as expendable pawns in a larger political game. This concept is central to the entire Metal Gear series, echoing Gray Fox's last words.
We're not tools of the government or anyone else.
In this game, we get the opposite. We see this manipulation manifest through multiple characters. The Cobra unit. Elite soldiers with supernatural abilities are used as disposable assets in a complex political maneuver. The boss, despite her legendary status, is forced to play the role of a traitor, sacrificing her life and reputation for a mission she didn't choose. Naked Snake, manipulated by his government, is sent to assassinate his own mentor without fully understanding the true nature of his mission.
Snake, listen to me. She didn't betray the United States. No, far from it. She was a hero who died for her country. She carried out her mission knowing full well what was going to happen. Self-sacrifice. Because that was her duty.
The theme of soldiers as pawns is further emphasized by the game's overreaching concept of scene, which explores how politics change with time and location. The characters in MGS3 are all playing roles, sometimes multiple ones, connected by the political climate of the Cold War era. The entire Operation Snake Eater is essentially a scene put on to appease political powers with the boss as a sacrificial pawn.
Why are you doing this?
Why? To make the world one again. The world used to be whole. But with the end of the Second World War, the philosophers began to fight amongst themselves, and the world was torn apart. The Cobras, my comrades who trained and fought alongside me, were torn apart as well. The foibles of politics and the march of time can turn friends into enemies just as easily as the wind changes. Ridiculous, isn't it? Yesterday's ally becomes today's opposition. And this Cold War? Think back. When I was leading the Cobras, America and Russia were fighting together. Now, consider whether America and Russia will still be enemies in the 21st century. Somehow I doubt it. Enemies change along with the times, the flow of the ages, and we soldiers are forced to play along. I didn't raise you and shape you into the man you are today just so we could face each other in battle. A soldier's skills aren't meant to be used to hurt friends. So then what is an enemy? Is there such a thing as an absolute timeless enemy? There is no such thing, and never has been. And the reason is that our enemies are human beings like us. They can only be our enemies in relative terms. The world must be made whole again. The philosophers must be reunited. I will devote my skills to that purpose. And with the Colonel's money, I will achieve that end. Just as I once created the Cobras. They are my family. I may no longer be able to bear children, but I still have a family.
The manipulation of MGS3 mirrors Ryan's experience in MGS2. where he is unwittingly used as a test subject in the S3 plan, attempting to create a perfect soldier in the mold of Solid Snake. Both Naked Snake and Raiden are pawns in games they don't fully comprehend, manipulated by forces beyond their control. Ultimately, MGS3 reveals how Big Boss, once a victim of this manipulation, becomes the very thing he fought against. By the time of the first Metal Gear game, he's willing to manipulate and discard loyal soldiers, much like how the boss was used and discarded. This transformation highlights the cynical nature of power and manipulation in the Metal Gear universe, where even those who were pawns can become the manipulators. In better terms, hurt people, thus being what Gray Fox fought against, being a tool of the government.
Snake, we're not tools of the government or anyone else. Fighting was the only thing I was good at. But at least I always fought for what I believed in. Snake, farewell.
Alright, let's dive into my personal headcanon. Building off this simulation within a simulation concept for Metal Gear Solid 2. We saw how Raiden could fabricate the kernel, and I've theorized that the Tanker and Twin Snakes incidents are just Raiden's nanomachines recreating Shadow Moses and the oil spill. This idea really clicked for me when Kojima lets players end the series by killing Ocelot early in Metal Gear Solid 3. We can hear Campbell's voice instead of Zero during Ocelot is Dead time paradox. Why Campbell? Maybe because, like MGS2, he's still a fabrication in Raiden's mind.
Snake, what have you done? You changed the future! You've created a time paradox!
Now, consider Metal Gear Solid 4, which I might cover in a future video if you guys want. It's not on my list for next year, but I can add it depending on if y'all request it. Raiden teams up with Eva, Big Mama, to steal Big Boss's body. What if during this time, Eva told Raiden about 1964? His nanomachines could be incorporating Campbell into the time paradox, making MGS3 another simulation based on Eva's account. When you first boot up MGS3, you're presented with a few different options. If you select I like MGS2, instead of Snake being revealed, we get Jack. While this was Kojima's way to playfully trolling his fans, it raises an interesting question. Why does Snake have a mask that looks like Raiden? Perhaps because Raiden's nanomachines are still at work, allowing him to imagine himself in Big Boss's shoes. Raiden's nanomachines have been shown to be capable of various functions, from communication to altering perceptions, and MGS2 were even used by the Patriots to manipulate Raiden's mind and suppress parts of his personality. So the idea that these nanomachines could be creating a simulation of Big Boss's experiences isn't entirely far-fetched within the Metal Gear universe. It's just a theory, and I've got no solid proof. But for a laugh, imagine the real Raiden. Kojima, knowing fans didn't love Raiden, made sure he was in MGS3, just not how we expected. Let's get a quick laugh and then explore the game's characters. What if this is canon?
You can change your future. Take it into your own hands, Jack.
So what about the past?
Huh?
What should I do about the past? How can I change that?
You want to change the past?
Well, in order to grasp the future, the past must be... It's that guy. I have to beat him no matter what. And make that chair mine. I've discovered that he will be the main character in the next game. I've used a time warp to come back, to wipe out the fool that forced me out of my main character's chair. And if Big Boss didn't exist, he would be erased as well.
You created a time paradox. You can't go changing the future like that. Paradox, don't mess with the future. You have to understand the future.
Target sighted. It won't open. Damn it! Huh?
Major, what are you doing here? I've been waiting for you in my room.
Hey, what are you doing?
What a beautiful body you have. Like a newborn baby.
Stop.
You can't do that. The future will be changed. You'll create a time paradox.
No!
Look at this scar.
Ow!
Time paradox.
Where am I?
Time paradox. I come here looking for Tatiana, and what should I find? But a greasy freebooter.
Hello.
Hey, wrong guy! You changed the future. You've created a time paradox. You all right?
Well. Sorry.
Here.
Snake! Hop in.
Be careful.
Let's go.
Legendary Big Boss.
Found him! Enemy spotted! Give us some
Big Boss's assassination ended in failure, but that doesn't mean I've given up on wiping out Solid Snake. I still have a plan. Big Boss. I knew I should have killed you.
Jack, you can't meddle with the past. We can only change the future. Take the future into your hands.
The future? But MGS4 is...
There's going to be a 5, right?
Now that we explored my personal headcanon, let's explore the characters of MGS3. Much like MGS2, we're going in order of how they were shown in the game. Starting with Naked Snake, who would become Big Boss. In MGS3, we meet Naked Snake as the skilled but somewhat naive Special Forces operative. He's got a playful side, cracking jokes about how things taste and showing genuine curiosity about the world around him. But don't let that fool you. He's a total soldier when it comes to weapons and combat strategies. The thing is, he's still pretty green when it comes to the bigger picture of politics and the harsh realities of being a soldier. Now, the real turning point for Snake is his relationship with the boss. She's not just his mentor, she's practically a mother figure to him. When he is forced to delete her at the end of Snake Eater, it's like a sledgehammer to his soul. This moment is what starts his transformation into Big Boss. It's like he leaves part of himself behind in that field of the white flowers where he confronts the boss. As Big Boss becomes this complex, morally great character, he's disillusioned with the government and the whole idea of nations using soldiers as pawns. So what does he do? He decides to create a world where soldiers can be free from political manipulation. It's a noble goal, but the way he goes about it, well, that's where things get messy. Big Boss becomes this legendary figure, partially through his own actions and partially through some clever media manipulation. He's charismatic enough to inspire loyalty in his followers, building up military units and later Outer Haven, but he's also not afraid to get his hand dirty to achieve goals. The really interesting thing about Big Boss is how he mirrors the boss in some ways, but also completely misunderstands her will. He's trying to create a world she would have wanted, but he's going about it all wrong. In this tragic irony, it makes his character so compelling. By the time we see him in the later games in the timeline, Big Boss has become this almost mythical figure. He's a boogeyman of the Metal Gear Solid world, the ultimate soldier turned rogue. But even then, there's still a hint of the idealistic Naked Snake we met back in MGS3. In the end, Big Boss is a character defined by loss, betrayal, and a misguided attempt to honor his mentor's memory. He's a cautionary tale about how even the noblest intentions can lead someone down a dark path. But damn if he isn't one of the most fascinating characters in gaming history.
You are above even the boss. I hereby award you the title of Big Boss. You are a true patriot.
Now let's dive into the true antagonist of the Metal Gear series, Major Zero. At the start of the Virtuous mission, we're introduced to him under the codename Major Tom. While Zero explains the meaning behind the name, it's also a clever nod to one of Hideo Kojima's favorite films, The Great Escape. In the film, the codenames Tom, Dick, and Harry were used as part of the escape plan. If you've seen my Metal Gear retrospective video, you might recall that the series itself was heavily inspired by The Great Escape. The first game's mechanics, rescuing hostages to increase Snake's rank, pay homage to the film's themes of covert operations and ingenuity.
Roger that, Major Tom.
Hold on, Snake.
What now?
I'm changing my codename. It turns out Tom wasn't the most auspicious choice.
What do you mean?
Well, the truth is, when I chose my codename, I picked the wrong one.
The wrong one?
Did you ever see the movie The Great Escape? It came out last year.
I must have missed that one.
Anyway, it's based on a true story about prisoners who escaped from a POW camp in Nazi Germany. The prisoners dig 3 tunnels as part of their plan, but the Nazis find 2 of the tunnels before they're finished. The prisoners succeed in escaping by using the last remaining tunnel. The names of those 3 tunnels were Dick, Harry, and Tom.
I get it. You used the name of the tunnel they escaped in as your code name because you thought it would bring you good luck.
Yes, that's exactly right. At least, that was the plan.
But
I got the name wrong. The one they escaped in was Harry. Tom was one of the unlucky tunnels. It was discovered by the Nazis before it was finished. I watched the movie again just to make sure. In fact, I even ordered the actual film from the movie company.
yeah, it doesn't sound like the greatest name to use. So what should I call you?
You know, let's just use Zero, like we've been doing all along.
All right, then. Major Zero it is. We'll start over from square one.
Now that we know the meaning around the name Major Tom, let me explain the meaning of the name Zero. The name Zero itself carries significance. It's a British military radio term for HQ and also refers to a ghost fitting for a sneaking mission, as Zero himself claimed. In MGS3, we see Zero as Snake's supportive commander, guiding him through Operation Snake Eater with a mix of professionalism and humor. His admiration for the boss and her vision of a unified, war-free world is evident. However, Zero's true villainy emerges in the events following Snake Eater. He co-founds the Patriots alongside Big Boss Eva, Sigint, Paramedic, and Ocelot to honor the boss's dream. But this noble intention twists as Zero becomes obsessed with control. He interprets the boss vision as a need for absolute authority over information and society. Zero's darker side becomes fully apparent in Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots. By this point, he's a shadowy figure indirectly causing immense suffering through his creations. Despite his physical absence, his influence looms large over the series' events. After disbanding the Philosophers, Zero led the reorganized American philosophers to maintain omnipotence over the American government and a way of life. The Patriots, in essence, become a rebirth of the organization, comprising agents from America, Russia, and China, with Zero himself being a former member of the British SAS. This transformation from a supportive commander to a power-hungry puppet makes Zero the true villain of the Metal Gear Solid universe.
Well done, Snake.
The MiG's disengaged.
Most likely under orders from Khrushchev.
Is this his way of helping us?
Who knows? Maybe he didn't want things to get messier than they already are. Or maybe he just wanted us to owe him one. The important thing is, you made it out alive. As long as Khrushchev is with us, I don't think they'll be coming after you. It should be smooth sailing all the way to Alaska. I'm sending someone out to Galena Base to meet you.
To meet me?
The DCI and the President himself are waiting at Langley. Don't keep them waiting.
Now let's look at Paramedic. Her codename has originated from her desire to create a unit of medics that could parachute into battle when they were needed the most. She's quite the interesting addition to Snake's support team, bringing a unique blend of medical expertise and pop culture enthusiasm to the table. Paramedic, whose real name we don't learn in MGS3, is a highly trained doctor assigned to provide medical advice to Naked Snake during his mission. Her role is crucial as she guides players on how to treat wounds and survive in the wilderness. But she's not just about bandages and ointments. Paramedic's got a fun side too. One of the most entertaining aspects of Paramedic's character is her obsession with movies. Every time Snake calls her to save the game, she launches into a discussion about a different film from the mid-20th century. It's like having your own personal movie buff on speed dial in the middle of a covert operation. Her movie references range from sci-fi classics like Forbidden Planet to monster flicks like Godzilla. This quirk adds a lighthearted touch to the game's tense atmosphere and gives players a glimpse into pop culture of the 1960s. Paramedic's interactions with Snake are also worth noting. There are playful banter between them, with Paramedic often teasing or flirting with Snake. This dynamic adds depth to their relationship and makes their coded conversations more engaging. It's not all fun and games though. Paramedic takes her job seriously, especially since her medical license is on the line if the mission fails.
Hello, Snake. I'm Paramedic. Nice to meet you.
Paramedic.
As in a medic who comes in by parachute.
Aren't you going to tell me your real name?
Are you going to tell me yours, Mr. Snake?
My name, huh? It's John Doe.
And they call you Jack for short. You're a regular Captain Nemo.
A name means nothing on the battlefield. After a week, no one has a name. What's your name?
Jane Doe.
Very funny.
I wasn't joking, but I'll tell you my name only if you manage to make it back alive. My frequency is 145.73.
Now we dive into the true hero of Metal Gear Solid 3, the boss. Kojima created her as a powerful maternal figure emphasizing the themes of motherhood and sacrifice. The boss's legendary status is cemented by her giving birth on the battlefield during D-Day, a moment that speaks volumes about her strength and dedication. Snake views the boss not just as a mentor, but as a mother figure. Their relationship is complex, filled with respect, admiration, and a deep emotional bond.
I raised you. I loved you. I've given you weapons, taught you techniques, endowed you with knowledge. There is nothing more for me to give you. All that's left for you to take is my life, by your own hand. One must die, and one must live. No victory, no defeat. The survivor will carry on the fight. It is our destiny. The one who survives will inherit the title of boss. And the one who inherits the title of boss will face an existence of endless battle.
This makes her apparent betrayal and Snake's mission to delete her all the more heart-wrenching. The boss's true heroism lies in her unwavering loyalty to her country, even when it means sacrificing everything. She willingly accepts a mission that will ban her as a traitor, knowing it will end her death at the hands of Snake. The sacrifice is made to prevent a global conflict, showcasing her selfless devotion to peace. Psychologically, the boss must have been in turmoil. She's forced to betray her protege, knowing we'll have to delete her. Yet she maintains her composure, even offering Snake guidance. At one point in the scene, she warns Snake about losing himself in disguises, foreshadowing her own fate.
What is this fairy disguise? It's gonna rub off on you. And then you'll lose sight of who you really are.
This quote holds many layers of meaning, shedding light on the boss's complex psyche. Moving on to her role as a maternal figure, which is further emphasized by her original character design, as it featured one of her breasts exposed. This design also included a snake tattoo coiling around her chest. When she fired a gun, the tattoo was meant to give the illusion that the snake was laughing. This concept ties to an old legend. If someone sees a laughing snake, it's said their life is about to end. Ultimately, this design was scrapped in favor of the snake-shaped scar across her chest, which slithers away upon her death. This subtle detail symbolizes her liberation from the pain and inner conflict she endured through the story. Interestingly, her appearance was inspired by the English actress Charlotte Rampling, a nod to her commanding yet enigmatic presence. These behind-the-scenes facts highlight the depth of the boss, a woman who gave her life, a child, and her legacy to serve her country. Her ultimate sacrifice, dying for her nation and ideals, solidifies her as a true hero of Metal Gear Solid 3. Tragically, her true motives remain obscured, leaving her legacy misunderstood and tarnished in the annals of history.
Take this. Keep it safe. It's our only hope.
Patriot? Why are you giving me this?
Jack. Or should I say, Snake. You're a wonderful man. Kill me. Kill me now. Do it. There's only room for one boss and one snake.
Let's dive into Dr. Nikolai Stepanovich Sokolov. First off, Sokolov is a brilliant rocket scientist. He's the brains behind putting the Russians into space, which is no small feat. But here's where things get complicated. His success leads him down a path he's not too comfortable with. The Soviets, seeing his talent, decide to put him to work on weapons development. Sokolov is a brilliant rocket scientist who's caught in the middle of Cold War politics. He's the brains behind putting the Russians into space, which is pretty impressive. But here's where things get messy. His success leads him down a path he's not too comfortable with. The Soviets, seeing his talent, decide to put him to work on weapons development. Now, Sokolov isn't your typical bad guy scientist. He's actually got a conscience, which is refreshing in the world of Metal Gear. When he realizes his work is being used for weapons, specifically the Shagohod, he decides he wants out. This is where Major Zero comes in. The whole Virtuous mission is set up because Zero wants to extract Sokolov from the east. It's a high-stakes rescue mission that sets the entire plot of Metal Gear Solid 3 in motion. What's really interesting about Sokolov is how he represents the human cost of the Cold War arms race. He's not just a soldier or a spy, but a scientist caught in the crossfire of international politics. His story shows us how even brilliant minds can become pawns in larger conflicts. Sokolov's journey through the game is a roller coaster. He's constantly trying to escape his fate, only to be pulled back in. First, Snake rescues him, then he's recaptured by Colonel Volgin. His predicament drives much of the game's plot as Snake's mission evolves from a simple extraction to a complex operation involving the destruction of the Shagohod and the elimination of Volgin. In the end, we believe Sokolov to be deleted during the torture with Volgin, but upon some research I found out surprisingly he survived. Overall, Sokolov's character serves as a reminder of the personal stories behind the grand political machinations of the Cold War. He's not just a mission objective, but a man with fears, hopes, and a desire for freedom. His plight adds a human element to the high-stakes espionage plot of MGS3, making the player's mission feel all the more urgent and meaningful.
All I wanted to do was build space rockets. But it was not to be. The space race between America and Russia became the prey of politicians. The space race and the arms race are one and the same. Missiles, rockets, what's the difference? Scientists are always being used. Please, watch over my family.
Now, let's dive into a man with a million plot twists, Major Ocelot. In MGS3, we meet a younger version of this enigmatic character. His introduction ties into a real-world event, the defection of NSA codebreakers Adam and Eva in September of 1960. While the real-life defectors were named William Hamilton Martin and Baron F. Mitchell, Ocelot's role as Adam cleverly weaves this historical incident into the game's narrative. When Ocelot first appears, he's a cocky, ambitious officer eager to prove himself against Naked Snake. His dramatic flair, obsession with revolvers, and need for showing off make him an unforgettable antagonist. But beneath his bravado lies a deeper story. During a conversation with Eva, Snake learns intriguing details about Ocelot's origins. Eva reveals that Ocelot is the son of a legendary hero and was born on the battlefield during D-Day, with bullets flying all around. To add to the legend, she mentions that when doctors stitch up his mother's wound, the scar resembled a snake. If you've been paying attention to the game's symbolism, this revelation should sound familiar.
Eva, I wanted to ask you about Ocelot.
Yeah, I know. He's pretty infatuated with you, isn't he?
That's not what I meant. Aren't the Ocelots an elite unit?
Yeah.
So how'd he get to be their commander? He can't be any older than 18 or 19. I can't believe he's already a major.
I heard from the colonel that he's been given special treatment.
Special treatment?
Yeah, he's the son of some legendary hero or something.
No wonder he seems to have the right stuff. So who is this legendary hero anyway?
Beats me. The colonel never told me. All I heard was that his mother was supposedly shot in the gut during battle, and that he was born right there with bullets whizzing past them.
A pregnant woman in the middle of a battle?
That's what I heard. They say that when they stitched her up, the scar was shaped like a snake.
Well, that's battlefield medicine for you. What about his father, this legendary hero?
He didn't tell me. I don't think Ocelot's ever met his parents.
Are they dead?
Maybe. I don't know. There were a lot of MIAs back then, during the last days of the war. Ocelot probably would have ended up the same way. But he was taken in and raised by Gru and Volgin.
because he was special.
That's my guess.
As the game progresses, we start to piece together the puzzle. The boss, our complex antagonist and Snake's mentor, reveals that she gave birth on the battlefield. She also has a distinctive snake-shaped scar on her chest. It doesn't take a genius to put two and two together. Ocelot is the boss's son. It explains his natural talent as a soldier and his special treatment within the group. It also casts his interactions with the boss in a new light. Neither of them acknowledge their relationship openly, but there's a subtle tension there that makes sense once you know the truth. Ocelot's lineage also sets up his future importance in the Metal Gear saga. Being the son of the boss and the Sorrow, as we later learn, explains his incredible skills and his ability to play all sides of the conflict. It's a brilliant piece of storytelling that ties Ocelot intimately to the game's themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the complex relationship forged in war.
What's your name? Snake. No, not that name. You're not a snake, and I'm not an ocelot. We're men with names. My name is Adamska. What's yours?
John.
Very well, John. Plain name, but I won't forget it. Come on!
Now, let's talk about the Fear. The Fear lives up to his name with his creepy spider-like abilities. He's got this unnerving talent for contorting his body in impossible ways, scaling vertical surfaces, and even running on water. It's like he's some kind of human anarchid hybrid. His fighting style is about stealth and surprise, using a crossbow with poison bolts to take down his prey. What's really interesting is that the Fear's design has a surprising origin. According to the developers, his overall look was actually based on Yoji Shinkawa's initial design for Raiden. Yes, the creepy Spider-Man could have been our protagonist in Metal Gear Solid 2. Plot twist. The Fear's abilities are never fully explained in MGS3, which adds to his mystique. Is he the product of some bizarre experiment, mutant, or just an incredibly skilled soldier? The game leaves it up to our imagination, what makes him all the more intriguing as a character.
I see it! The Fear!
Let's dive into the Pain. The Pain lives up to his name with his ability to control swarms of hornets at will. He's a towering giant with a face covered in welts from countless stings. It's like he's some kind of human-insect hybrid. His fighting style is all about using these hornets to attack Snake and defend himself. In the game, the Pain's boss fight is a tense battle that takes place in a flooded cave. He attacks Snake with swarms of hornets, grenades, and even a Tommy gun. But what's really wild is his ability to use the hornets as armor, creating a protective barrier that can only be broken with heavy weaponry. The Pain's got some seriously creepy tricks up his sleeve. He can create clones of himself made from hornets, and he's even got these special bullet bees that he grows inside his own body. Like the Fear, the Pain's character's origins and abilities leaves it up to our imagination.
The Pain! The Pain! The Pain!
Let's dive into the Fury. The Fury is a former cosmonaut who had a life-changing experience in space. Something went terribly wrong during his mission, leaving him badly burned and forever altered. Now he's obsessed with fire and destruction, wielding a powerful flamethrower and a jetpack that lets him zip around the battlefield like a deranged firefly. In his boss fight, the Fury lives up to his name. He's relentless, using his jetpack to stay out of reach while dousing Snake with flames. The fight takes place in a series of dark tunnels, making it even more challenging to keep track of this pyromaniac. His flamethrower can hit you from surprising angles, even seeming to bend around corners. What's really interesting about the Fury is how his time and space has warped his mind. He's constantly rattling about the flames of hell he saw in space, suggesting some serious psychological trauma from his experiences. It's clear that whatever happened up there left more than just physical scars. The Fury's character adds a layer of psychological horror to MGS3, showing how the trauma of war, or in this case space exploration, can twist a person into something barely recognizable as human. His obsession with fire and destruction makes for a memorable and unsettling encounter in Snake's journey.
This is the end of the Cobras. You've got to live on. You're the only one left. I'm off. To join the shop. Flames of fury, the fires of hell will purge me clean. I can see it. Mission Control, do you read me? I'm coming home. I see the earth.
Now let's talk about a boss in the game that is fully optional, the End. The End is a 100-year-old man who's been dubbed the father of modern sniping. Despite his age and seemingly frail appearance, he's an incredibly dangerous opponent. What makes him unique is his symbolic relationship with the Force. He can photosynthesize to regain health and blend almost supernaturally with his surroundings. The End's boss fight is a true test of patience and skill. It takes place across 3 large areas, and players need to use all their wits and tools to track him down. You can use thermal goggles to follow his footsteps, listen for labored breathing, or even spot the glint of his rifle scope in the sunlight. It's a battle of endurance that can last hours, making it one of the most immersive, intense encounters in the game. The End's weapon of choice is a modified Mosin Nagant sniper rifle that fires tranquilizer darts instead of lethal ammunition. This fits with his preference for non-lethal takedowns, adding an interesting twist to the fight. If you manage to defeat him non-lethally, you can even acquire this unique weapon for yourself. What's particularly cool about the End's fight is the multiple ways you can approach it. You can engage in a traditional sniper duel, sneak up on him for close quarters combat, or even use some unconventional methods like stealing his camo or waiting for him to die of old age. This flexibility in approach is part of what makes the encounter so memorable. His dialogue suggests that this battle is the final purpose for his long life, adding a poignant note to the encounter. It's these kind of details that make Metal Gear Solid 3's characters so rich and compelling.
Spirits of the forest, I thank you. The boss would be proud of you. The time has come for a younger generation to rise. I've been wandering for more than a century, and now my journey comes to a close. What a splendid way to end it all. I have no regrets. I can return to the Forum Allah.
Now, let's take a step beyond with the Sorrow. Introduced as a spiritual medium capable of communicating with the dead, the Sorrow stands apart from the other members of the Cobra unit. He's already deceased when Snake encounters him. This adds an eerie supernatural layer to the game's narrative. The fight with the Sorrow isn't just a traditional boss battle. Instead, it's a haunting experience where Snake wades through a river filled with the spirits of everyone he's deleted up to that point. This makes the encounter deeply personal, forcing players to confront the consequences of their actions. What's particularly fascinating about the Sorrow is his hidden connection to Revolver Ocelot. It's revealed that the Sorrow is actually Ocelot's father, with the boss as his mother. This family connection introduces the possibility of a supernatural inheritance. Did Ocelot inherit some of the Sorrow's medium-like abilities? This idea, while retconned in later games, offers a potential explanation for how Liquid Snake's spirit was able to possess Ocelot's body in later games. The Sorrow's boss encounter is also notable for his unconventional design. Players can defeat him in the traditional sense. Instead, Snake must either allow himself to drown or reach the end of the river to touch the Sorrow's corpse. In either case, Snake dies and must use the Revival Pill to continue. This unique gameplay twist perfectly reflects the Sorrow's otherworldly nature. According to Hideo Kojima, the river where Snake encounters the Sorrow was inspired by the Sanzu no Kawa, a Japanese Buddhist concept of the afterlife. In the Buddhist mythology, the Sanzu no Kawa is a river with 3 crossings, representing different paths one might take depending on the life they led. Ultimately, the Sorrow remains one of the most enigmatic characters in Metal Gear Solid 3. His spectral presence, connection to Ocelot and the boss, and unforgettable boss encounter make him a standout in the game brimming with memorable personalities.
I can't.
Shoot me. You want to finish your mission, don't you? Then you'll have to shoot me. The spirit of the warrior will always be with you. Don't be sad. We'll meet again someday.
Now let's talk about Colonel Volgin, the main antagonist in MGS3. Colonel Volgin, often just called Volgin, is a primary antagonist of MGS3. His name itself is pretty interesting, with the name Volgin being a common Russian surname derived from the Volga River. This connection to Russia's greatest river adds a certain weight to his character, hinting at his power and influence within the Soviet Union. Volgin is a truly intimidating figure. He's a sadistic, power-hungry Soviet officer with the ability to generate and control electricity. His unique power makes him a formidable opponent for Naked Snake. Volgin's cruelty is on full display throughout the game, from his brutal interrogation techniques to his willingness to launch a nuclear weapon on his own countrymen. What's particularly interesting about Volgin is his complex personality. Despite his brutality, he's shown to have a romantic relationship with Major Rykov, adding an unexpected layer to his character. He's also surprisingly superstitious, offering muttering Kuwabara during thunderstorms to ward off lightning, an ironic fear given his electrical abilities. Volgin's boss fights are some of the most intense in the game. His electrical powers and physical strength make him a terrifying opponent, and the player really feels the desperation of facing such a powerful enemy. These encounters serve to highlight both Volgin's strength and Snake's determination and skill. In the end, Volgin serves as a perfect antagonist for MGS3's Cold War era spy story. He's larger than life with abilities that border on the supernatural, yet he's grounded in very human desires for power and control. His character drives the plot forward and challenges the player at every turn.
Who's afraid of a little thunder?
Fried by a bolt of lightning. A fitting end. It's finally over.
Now let's jump into Eva. First off, let's talk about her name. Eva isn't just a cool code name. It's loaded with biblical symbolism. It's derived from Eve, the first woman in the book of Genesis. There's even a cheeky reference to this when Snake speculates if she came from the rib he broke during the virtuous mission. But the biblical connections don't stop there. Just like Eve betrayed God's trust in the Garden of Eden, Eva ends up betraying Snake's trust. She even refers to this herself, saying she deceived the snake and got away with the forbidden fruit.
Scholars tell us that the first spy in history was the snake in the book of Genesis. In that story, it was Eve who was tempted by the snake in the Garden of Eden. But this time around, it was I who tempted the snake and got away with the forbidden fruit of knowledge. Forgive me, Snake.
When Eva goes undercover as a KGB agent, she adopts the alias Tatiana. This isn't just a random Russian name. It's derived from Latin and Sabine origins, being the feminine form of Titus. As always, Kojima doesn't miss a detail when it comes to names. Kojima also drew from intriguing sources when crafting Eva's character. Her looks were inspired by an idol he admired, while her personality and looks cues from Fujiko Mine, the sly and seductive thief from Lupin III. Interestingly, Kojima noted that the English voice cast wasn't too fond of Eva due to her manipulative personality. Eva's role in the story echoes the woman archetype often seen in James Bond films. Like a Bond girl, she cooperates with Snake, but there's always an undercurrent of uncertainty. Can she truly be trusted? This tension heightens every interaction between the two. Her alias Tatiana even nods to the Bond girl from Russia with love. There's a historical basis for Eva's backstory as well. The defection of the NSA codebreakers Adam and Eve draws from a real-life incident in September 1960, but Eva isn't just about spycraft. Her iconic Viking goggles also reference the Police Knots epilogue, where Meryl Silverberg wears Dave's forecaster goggles around her neck. Eva is introduced as a former NSA agent turned American de facto working for the KGB, tasked with assisting Naked Snake during Operation Snake Eater. However, this is just a cover-up. Her true identity is that of a Chinese spy trained by the Chinese branch of the Philosophers. Her ultimate mission? To recover the Philosopher's legacy, a massive stockpile of wealth gathered during World War I. Throughout the game, Eva is using her charm and sex appeal to manipulate those around her. She first appears as Sokolov's lover and later integrates herself with Volgin, all while hiding her true agenda. Beyond espionage, she's an expert motorcyclist, a skill showcased in several exhilarating sequences. What makes Eva truly compelling is the depth of her character, revealed towards the game's climax. In a poignant monologue, she explained the boss's true mission and sacrifice to Snake. This moment adds layers to Eva, showing empathy and understanding beyond her role as a spy. Eva's journey in MGS3 is emblematic of the series' complex web of loyalty and betrayal. She triple crosses the AGP, the CIA, and Vulcan while pursuing her mission for the Chinese philosophers. Yet, amidst the lies, her bond with Snake feels authentic, bringing emotional weight to their relationship. In the end, Eva stands out as one of Metal Gear Solid 3's most complex characters. She's more than just a seductive woman or a love interest. She's a multifaceted operative with her own motives, skills, and emotional depth. Her role not only shapes the events of Snake Eater, but also sets the stage for her continued importance in the Metal Gear saga, cementing her legacy as one of the series' most influential and memorable characters.
Good morning, Snake. I hope you slept well. First of all, I have to apologize. I wasn't sent by Khrushchev. I'm not a KGB spy, and I never worked for the NSA. I'm an agent of the People's Republic of China for the General HQ 2nd Department of the People's Liberation Army. It was all a lie. I tricked you. And I'm sorry. The philosophers still exist in China, too. You see, my mission was to find out where Vulcan was hiding the philosopher's legacy and steal it. So I infiltrated his base as a KGB spy. The 2 NSA codebreakers who defected in 1960 were actually both men.
Now for the tech whiz, Sigint. He's a young African-American man in his mid-20s with a personality that is reminiscent of Will Smith. Charismatic, quick-witted, and always ready with a quip. As a member of the NSA, he's got his finger on the pulse of cutting-edge electronic reconnaissance technology, making him an invaluable asset to the Fox unit. During Snake's mission, Sigint is the go-to guy for all things tech-related. He's crazy about computers and has an encyclopedic knowledge of weapons and gadgets. Whenever Snake needs info on a new piece of equipment or advice on how to tackle a tricky enemy, Sigint there with the lowdown. His codec calls are not just informative, but often entertaining, thanks to his lively personality and occasional humorous anecdotes. In the end, Sigint is more than just Snake's tech support. He's a fully realized character with his own quirks, fears, and ambitions. His presence in Metal Gear Solid 3 not only aids Snake in this mission, but also adds depth and color to the game's cast of characters.
Yeah, I had a terrible dream.
No kidding. What happened?
I don't want to think about it. I was being attacked by monsters that looked human, and I'm not even sure if I was really me.
At least it was just a dream. It's all over when you wake up.
True.
When you think about it, the fact that you can imagine a situation worse than the one you're in now means life can't be all that bad.
I sure hope so.
Well, let me tell you about the absolute worst, most sickening nightmare I ever had. This isn't one for the kids. Okay, so there's this big pile of crap, right? It's shaped like a giant tank, and it's walking around on 2 legs, going on a rampage and stomping on people and houses and stuff. And this giant turd is carrying the nastiest missiles you ever saw. Like, whenever it launches one of its turd missiles, whatever it hits, people, trees, buildings, turns into shit. My hometown, my old school, my family, my girlfriend, old man John, everything in that turd's path turned into shit.
That's pretty sick, man.
Good thing it was just a dream, huh?
Yes, that's a good thing.
You feeling better now?
Yeah.
Good. Then let's get down to business. You see, Snake, people are just sacks of shit, and they're full of holes. Fill them up with water, and it's gotta come out from somewhere. Okay, maybe that was a bad example. What I'm trying to say is, no matter what the situation, there's always a way out. Don't throw in the towel yet. Clear your mind. Think it through. Assess the situation. You'll find a way to escape.
Got it.
Don't let my nightmare come true.
Right.
Let's dive into Granin. This guy is quite the interesting figure in the game's complex web of characters and motivations. Alexander Leonidovich Granin is a Russian scientist in his 60s, working for the Glasningrad Planning and Design Bureau. He's not your typical tall, imposing figure. Granin is short and stout, with a sly look that matches his cunning way of talking. You can tell this guy got some tricks up his sleeve by looking at him. Granin is a member of the Kosygin faction and is funded by the GRU, which puts him right in the middle of the political intrigue that is so central to MGS3's plot. But what really sets Granin apart is his brilliant mind. He's the inventor of a two-legged walking machine that would eventually evolve into Metal Gear Rex. Now, Granin's got a bit of a problem. He's absolutely crazy about vodka. You often find him in his office nursing a bottle and lamenting about his troubles. And troubles he has indeed, particularly with incorporating nuclear power energy into his walking machine. In his frustration, he reaches out to his American friend, who interestingly enough turns out to be the father of Otacon from a later game in the series. Granin's role in the game takes a dark turn when he decides to leak information to Snake. This act of betrayal doesn't go unnoticed, and unfortunately for Granin, it leads to a grisly end. Colonel Vogan, not known for his mercy, deletes Granin for his actions. In the end, Granin is a character that embodies the complexities of the Cold War era. He's brilliant but flawed, caught between political factions and his own ambitions. His creation of the walking tank concept sets the stage for the entire Metal Gear saga, making him a pivotal figure in the series' lore.
Colonel. Did he talk?
No, he died before I could get it out of him.
The last character to cover is Johnny. He's revealed to be a part of the lineage of characters named Johnny, serves as a guard during Naked Snake's imprisonment. He's depicted as a GRU soldier in his 60s, and his personality is characterized by a sly demeanor and penchant for complaining about his gastrointestinal troubles. Johnny's role in MGS3 is both significant and comedic. He stands out from the other guards due to his distinct personality and the letter J emblazoned on his head. His constant complaints about diarrhea provide comic relief amidst the tension of the game. This humorous trait not only humanizes him, but also makes him relatable as he struggles with something so mundane while being involved in high-stakes espionage. Players can exploit his discomfort to their advantage, using clever tactics to escape captivity. What makes Johnny particularly interesting is how he connects to the broader Metal Gear narrative. He's the grandfather of Johnny Sasaki, who appears in the original Metal Gear Solid. In that game, Johnny Sasaki is the guard assigned to watch over Solid Snake's cell during the Shadow Moses Island incident. This lineage creates a fascinating thread throughout the series, showing how certain traits and circumstances repeat across generations. It's almost as if the struggles of one generation echo into the next, with each Johnny facing their own unique challenges.
Our two countries used to be such good friends.
Yeah, I hear ya.
I just want to see my family again.
Must be rough.
Yeah. Not as rough as you have it, though. Here. I filched them from your equipment when the Colonel wasn't looking. It's the least I can do. Well?
Don't suppose you could let me out of here?
Huh? I can't do that. Hey, don't you go getting any funny ideas. If you try to escape, I'll have to shoot you. I've said too much. I gotta go.
Now that we wrapped up character analysis, I need to cover the true hero of Metal Gear Solid 3. It wasn't Snake or Big Boss, it was another. To be honest, I just wanted a reason to add this. Enjoy.
And there's one more person on your support team. His name is Mr. Sigint. He's an expert on the latest in weapons and equipment technology.
Hey.
The name's Eva.
What?
Snake! What's your status? Snake! Snake!
Snake, you can't do that. The future will be changed. You'll create a time paradox. I hereby award you the title of Big Boss.
You've got to be kidding.
Much like the first two entries in the Metal Gear Solid series, MGS3 follows a familiar formula but elevates it with some substantial improvements, earning itself a place as one of Hideo Kojima's best works. The stealth aspects of the game have gone deeper than just being outside the vision cone of enemies, as was the case in MGS1 and MGS2. Here, camouflage is used more tactically, changing the percentage changes of stealth depending on surroundings. For example, tree bark camo while hugging a tree or black camo for nighttime infiltration can greatly reduce the chance of being spotted. Without the Soliton radar, it's a bit of a letdown, but the Subsistence and HD re-releases soften the blow with the freely movable camera, a huge improvement over the fixed camera of the original release. The original fixed perspective, while iconic, made stealth gameplay far more difficult. Building on the stealth mechanics, the enemy AI has been improved with better vision and hearing. Sneaking up on guards now requires precision. Players must lightly press the analog stick or use the D-pad to ensure Snake's footsteps are inaudible. These improvements make encounters feel more dynamic and force players to adapt their strategies in ways unseen in previous titles. While MGS3 is still a stealth action game at its core, it also brings a much deeper combat system with the addition of close quarters combat, also known as CQC. In previous games, Snake and Raiden could only pull off simple 3-hit combos. Naked Snake, however, can pull off a wide range of CQC moves. He can slam enemies to instantly knock them out, grab them and begin interrogations, or delete them through lethal methods such as slitting their throats or breaking their necks. The versatility of CQC elevates combat and adds a layer of strategy to enemy engagements, offering both lethal and non-lethal options depending on the player's approach. The game's weapons also see notable changes. Unlike previous games where suppressors were infinite, MGS3 adds a layer of realism limiting suppressor durability. Players must now carefully manage their shots to avoid running out and alerting guards with an unsuppressed weapon. This change discourages the reckless use of weapons and instead nudges the player towards a more tactical playstyle. The alert system also took inspiration from its predecessors, wherein guards call for reinforcements upon the sight of Snake, leading to a high-stakes caution mode if the player fails to evade. The introduction of the stamina system is another major addition to gameplay. Snake's stamina affects everything, from aiming stability to his reactions. Food can spoil if it's left uneaten for a long time, and it needs to be scavenged to retain stamina. This brings in a time-sensitive aspect of survival into gameplay. Snake's food preferences will also come into play. Eating disliked or spoiled foods may cause adverse effects, including poisoning. Injuries require the use of a new cure system to treat wounds ranging from leech bites to gunshot wounds. These mechanics add depth and realism to gameplay while tying into the survival theme. Incidentally, Snake's resilience improves over time, as taking damage increases overall health on harder difficulties, creating a small but impactful progression system. Unlockables are another highlight of MGS3. For example, the stealth camo is unlocked either by shooting all the Keroden frogs scattered in the game, or by completing a no alert playthrough, which can be quite challenging yet satisfying. The Infinity face paint, which gives infinite ammo, which requires players to capture the Tsuchinoko snake alive. The EZ gun is available on the easiest difficulty by default, but can be unlocked on the harder modes by capturing and eating every food in the game to earn the rank of Markhor. This weapon cranks Snake's camouflage up to 80% along with infinite ammo and suppressors, and it slows the depletion of stamina. Other unlockables include the Patriot, the boss's gun, and a tux in order to give that James Bond feel. Bosses also drop specific camouflages if defeated non-lethally, each having distinct active effects. Examples being how the Ends Moss camo will allow the player to photosynthesize and gain stamina from the sun. His camo requires a player to hold him up at gunpoint, while other bosses will drop their respective camo upon defeat non-lethally. Ultimately, Metal Gear Solid 3 is a masterclass in game design, from its robustly implemented stealth mechanics to its engrossing survival elements and satisfying unlockables. The gameplay is near perfect. It comes across as no surprise that it remains one of the most popular entries in the series, a true showcase of Kojima's genius when it comes to crafting complex, memorable gaming experiences. The original version of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was released for the PlayStation 2 on November 17, 2004. This version ran at a 4080 resolution at 30 frames per second with a 4:3 aspect ratio. At this time, the teams behind Metal Gear and Ape Escape were working together on a crossover, which became the Snake vs. Monkey gameplay mode. In this mode, players are tasked with capturing monkeys styled after those from Ape Escape. This mode added a bit of humor to the overall gameplay experience. The Japanese version was released a month later on December 16, 2004. It was essentially the same as the North American release, but localized for Japanese audiences. The European version came out March 4, 2005, 4 months after the North American version. This version included a few nice additions to the mix to make up for the long wait. It includes some extra camouflage options, additional face paint, and a duel mode, similar to the boss survival mode from Metal Gear Solid 2. 2 more Snake vs. Monkey levels were also added, as well as the European Extreme Difficulty mode for Europeans and veteran players. A demo theater was also introduced, which allowed players to watch the cutscenes of the game while modifying Snake's camouflage in the majority of scenes. This version ran at 576 resolution with a slightly lower frame rate of 25 frames per second compared to the North American version. Some scenes experienced light censorship, but it didn't detract much from the game. Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence is an expanded version of Snake Eater, released for the PS2 on December 22, 2005 in Japan, with North America following on March 14, 2006 and Europe on October 6, 2006. This version brought significant enhancements. It included the MSX2 versions of Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, marking the first official release of Metal Gear 2 outside of Japan. It also included Metal Gear Online, a multiplayer component that only briefly ran before servers shut down in 2007. Most notably, Subsistence included a fully 3D user-controlled camera for the main game, addressing one of the chief criticisms of the fixed camera found in the original release. Other inclusions were more camouflage options and all DLC camouflages on the disc, along with the secret theater of humorous cutscenes that you might have seen in my analysis portion. The original release was divided into 2 discs, with the actual game being Disc 1 Subsistence, while Disc 2 Persistence contained all the extra content. Performance-wise, the gameplay still remained at the same original version, 480 resolution at 30 frames per second, and 576i at 25 frames per second for Europeans. A limited edition version of Subsistence was also released and came with a 3rd disc called Existence. This disc contained a condensed 3.5-hour movie version of Metal Gear Solid 3, complete with remastered sound, giving fans a film version of the original game story. Metal Gear Solid 3D Snake Eater came out for the Nintendo 3DS with a few unique features over the handheld console. It ran at 800 by 240 resolution at 20 frames per second and allowed for players to crouch walk and aim from over-the-shoulder perspective. Custom camouflage could be created using the 3DS camera, and the game supported either single or dual analog stick controls via the Circle Pad Pro. It included a stereoscopic 3D mode and had 3 difficulty levels, with the hardest mode akin to European Extreme. However, most of the extras that appear in the European and Subsistence versions, such as Snake vs. Monkey, were not included. The HD edition of MGS3 saw the game immigrated to the PS3, Xbox 360, and PS Vita as part of the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. These ports ran at 7020 resolution at 60 frames per second and a widescreen 16:9 aspect ratio. While some content from Subsistence was removed, such as Snake vs. Monkey and Metal Gear Online, the collection retained most of the extra camouflage and gameplay features. The Xbox 360 version did not feature pressure-sensitive button functionality, but the PS3 version featured a transferring option that allowed players to transfer saved data between the PS3 and PS Vita. The Xbox 360 version was backwards compatible with Xbox One and Xbox Series X, but not with the Series S. The same HD version also included in the Master Collection, and this version also included Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake from the MSX, thus bringing it to a new generation of players. The PS Vita version adapted the controls to the handheld format, replacing the L2 R2 and L3 R3 button functions with the rear touchpad. It retained the transferring function and supported trophies. Lastly, though not yet released, the upcoming Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater remake must be mentioned. Slated for modern players, it promises to be a faithful reimagining of the original game. While details remain scarce, the prospect of experiencing Snake Eater with updated visuals and mechanics has fans eagerly awaiting its release. Like many others, I'm excited to see how this remake will honor one of the greatest entries in the Metal Gear Solid series. Reception. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater got universal acclaim upon its release and has since been considered one of the best games in the series and of all time. Its innovative gameplay mechanics combined with cinematic storytelling and impressive technical achievements made the game a masterpiece. One of the real strengths that defined the game was its narrative and presentation, which many critics at the time linked to a Hollywood blockbuster. Players plunged into a Cold War era of espionage, betrayal, and personal sacrifice. The flair of James Bond, complete with a memorable theme song and stylized opening credits, gave a fresh twist on the Metal Gear formula. These elements elevated Snake Eater beyond the mode of a simple action game and provided one that was both emotionally and thematically appealing. Gameplay innovations further enhanced its appeal. The introduction of the camouflage system, survival mechanics, and close quarters combat added depth to the stealth gameplay, requiring players to adapt and strategize more dynamically. Boss battles, a hallmark of the series, reached new heights in Snake Eater. Encounters like the iconic duel with the End, a tense sprawling sniper battle across the lush jungle, were frequently celebrated as some of the best in gaming history. Not all was perfect, however, as some criticism still came in despite of the overwhelming praise. The fixed camera system of the original release got on some people's nerves, as it sometimes made navigating and planning stealth moves in denser areas a bit of a pain. They were later rectified with the Subsistence re-release, which included a free-moving 3D camera that really opened up the gameplay. Other minor complaints included the somewhat dated feel of the controls and pressure-sensitive button inputs, which felt fitty to use for some players. The most impressive quality of Snake Eater has to be the emotional toll it takes on its gamer and the ending. For sure, it's been a game that has perfectly married moving storylines with addictive gameplay to make it one of its kind. To this date, many fans consider it as one of the best titles of its generation, even going as far as claiming it is their favorite video game of all time. From its revolutionary mechanics to its unforgettable characters and emotionally charged narrative, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is still a benchmark of how video games can merge art and entertainment seamlessly. Decades after its release, it's still held as the apex of the Metal Gear Solid series and one of the clearest examples of the medium's storytelling potential. Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. What can I say? This game is more than just a game. It's an experience. Kojima, renowned for his cinematic approach to storytelling, outdid himself here. Playing as Big Boss, a character we've always known as the series' antagonist, gave the story a fresh, bold perspective. It made us see the villain in a sympathetic light, adding layers to his character and redefining what it means to create a sequel. Snake Eater didn't just follow the series' formula, it changed and reimagined it. I've been playing this game since I was a kid, and I still remember tackling the original MGS3 version with the fixed camera angle. Honestly, I don't know how I managed to beat it back then. The Subsistence version with this free camera is undoubtedly the definitive way to experience this masterpiece. Fixed cameras have their charm in certain contexts, but without a radar like the Soliton radar, they can make stealth feel unnecessarily punishing. A free camera, on the other hand, offers a precision and awareness that this type of gameplay deserves. Still, even with its early limitations, the original version was unforgettable. As a kid, I went full Rambo, running and gunning my way through every guard in sight. But as an adult, my approach has matured. I now find myself relying on the MK22 tranquilizer and aiming for non-lethal boss takedowns. The extra camouflage to unlock through non-lethal runs is not just a reward, but a tool that enhances replayability. And let's be real, there's something deeply satisfying about earning that Foxhound rank. Snake Eater has so many mechanics, secrets, and nuances, it's impossible to cover them all. From Snake vomiting to when he spends too much, to the sheer variety of foods he can eat to recharge his stamina, every detail is purposeful. If I tried to include everything, this video would be twice as long. Some secrets, like beating the fear in 10 seconds or skipping the end's boss fight entirely, are iconic examples of the game's depth. Released in 2004, Snake Eater packed more secrets, unlockables, and hidden cutscenes than most modern games. It's a title that begs to be replayed multiple times. I'd even argue it's one of the most accessible Metal Gear games to tackle on extreme difficulty. Achieving the Foxhound rank is a challenge, but it feels attainable and immensely rewarding. Once you unlock all the camo suits, like the Cold War camo that makes enemies hesitate to shoot you from the front, you start to feel unstoppable. This game is a personal favorite of mine, and I can't wait to dive into Metal Gear Solid Delta. From what I've seen in the trailers, it looks like a faithful yet advanced remake, a reimagining that matches how Snake Eater felt when it first dropped in 2004. If it captures even half of the magic of the original, we're in for something special. My only minor gripe with the original is the inability to carry over the Mosin Nagant from the start on every replay. Unlike the Single Action Army or the Patriot, it's a small thing, but it would have been a nice touch to have that gun from the start. I mean, having to beat the end non-lethally over and over and over and over again each playthrough, and that fight can take hours. Even so, Snake Eater is, without question, one of the greatest games of all time. Its influence on gaming is undeniable, and it remains a benchmark for storytelling, gameplay, and innovation. This is a game that didn't just leave its mark, it changed the landscape of gaming forever. If you made it to the end of this video, I want to take a moment to say thank you. I know the length of this video was definitely quite long, but I see that y'all enjoyed it, so I'm glad to bring you more content. This is my last video for the year, and I want to thank you all for tuning in every other week with me. Next year we will actually be having a lot more content, as in we will be dropping videos weekly next year, so be in tune. There's going to be about 52 videos released next year. I've already started on a few, so I can't wait to bring you some new content. I still have open slots available, so please feel free in the comment section below to list a few games that you would love me to do on the channel. I'm interested in seeing what y'all would want me to play, and if I could add it to my list, it will be worth it. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. If you're curious for more Metal Gear content, you can check my Hideo Kojima Chronicles playlist, or you can check my Metal Gear playlist, where I've covered and tackled Snatcher, Police Knots, Metal Gear 1, 2, Metal Gear Solid, and Metal Gear Solid 2. So feel free to enjoy the content. Thank you for tuning in. Happy New Year. This is the Retro Phantom, signing out.